Hello, hello. All right, everybody. Everybody could sit down, please. Find a place to sit, and we'll make sure that the microphones are on. Can everybody hear us in the back? Do I need to talk closer to the microphone? Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome. We will call to order the October 23rd, 2014 Metro Planning Commission. And our first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
I don't think the mic, are the mics not on?
That's Metro 3's mic, by the way. Your microphones are those next on the
Oh, I see. Okay. Perfect. Hello. Well, that's interesting. Okay. So are there any?
There are no changes to the agenda.
All right, excellent. Is there adoption to?
Move adoption.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Oh, that's just the adoption of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's been adopted unanimously by by 8 commission members. I think we're kind of changing it around a little bit to announce how many people have voted for it and how many people have voted against. 9 here. Yes. All right. So the agenda has been adopted. Next is the approval of the minutes. Commissioner?
I would like to make a clarification on condition in the minutes in last meeting. Item number 15, which is the 19th and Broadway mixed-use development. I wanted to be sure that the condition was clear, that the intent of the condition was that to work with the executive director on the possibility of relocating the building, but also the possibility of salvaging materials that are salvageable and worthy of preserving. I'm a little concerned that the language in the condition currently sounds like a mandate that they must salvage and must preserve and must reuse. So I would like to recommend amending the condition by replacing the word "to" before salvaging to the word "of."
Which condition is this?
I'll read it out. This is in the motion. This is the additional condition that we added to the motion. So replacing the word "to" before salvaging with "of," and to put at the very end of the motion the words "if practicable." So the motion would read, Mr. G moved and Ms. LaQuire seconded the motion to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions, including a condition that the developer work with the executive director of the Metro Historic Zoning Commission to consider the possibility of relocating the historic structure, or, if demolition is approved, of salvaging and incorporating materials from the historic structure into the project if practicable.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Clifton?
Hunter, would you, who would that decision be made by, as you have it stated? Would it be just at the discretion of the builder?
Did you say into the project?
That's already in the motion.
That's not it. Have to be into the project. It didn't have to be into the project.
Okay. Well, that's what the current
I know,
minutes.
that's what, I'm glad you're bringing it up,
Minutes
because I
are
don't think that
recorded.
was the point.
And I don't disagree. I just don't want to change what we've already acted on. This is simply a clarification of the intent.
Well, I don't think the intent was into the project necessarily.
It wasn't limited to.
Yeah, it wasn't limited
Wasn't limited.
to. It was a possibility, but it didn't have to.
Make sure you're going to the microphone for those.
Okay.
So maybe there's an additional amendment necessary.
Let's try to get the motion is still on the table, we're still on the motion. Let's try to amend it so we can only have one amendment to the minute.
Sure.
So, let's try to work it out to where, why don't you repeat tell us what your intent is, and then let's see if we can't, as a commission, work out the language.
Sure. The intent is to work with the executive director of the Historic Zoning Commission to consider the possibility of relocating the historic structure, or if demolition of the building is approved, to work with the executive director on potential of salvaging potential materials from the building, period.
Yeah, if practicable, I think was the word you used, that's fine.
Yeah, if practicable.
Commissioner.
If the purpose is to have the developer work with the Historic Zoning Commission director, which I guess it is, I would think that the decision about relocating and/or salvaging should be a joint one, including the Historic Zoning director. Is that all right, or is that?
That's what he said.
Okay, that's what you tried to say then. So it would be just the developer.
Determine if
He
practicable.
prefaced it with the
Okay, I
historic
just wasn't.
commission.
I'm fine then.
All right, let's, if you would, Commissioner Gee, go read through that one more time.
Okay.
So that
Let me-
the staff can get it fixed. And we can have the proper amendment of the
Okay.
minutes.
So the motion should read,
And you're on item number,
this is the item number 15, page 34 of 60 in our minutes. So the motion to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions, including a condition that the developer work with the executive director of the Metro Historic Zoning Commission to consider the possibility of relocating the historic structure, or if demolition is approved, of salvaging and incorporating materials from the historic structure if practicable.
okay. Any other questions on this motion?
Let me ask, materials could be anything from brick on the back or siding or windows, something like that. I think the intent, if you read my inquiry there, I think my question was, if it was going to be demoed, that it was mainly the facade, front facade of the building, those materials, the columns, or any work around the windows or eaves, that type of thing, some of the brick. Wasn't necessarily all the structure,
Right, well, I mentioned
or the wood flooring, anything like that.
I mentioned when I made the motion, it's not recorded it specifically as part of the motion, potentially both interior and exterior.
Well, what you said worthy of
Materials.
preservation, I think was at some point I heard.
Yeah,
in here,
I went back and looked at the video,
That can
and I
decide if
used
it's
the
worthy or
words,
not.
I used the word salvageable and worthy of preserving.
Yeah.
So if we want to incorporate that before materials, incorporating salvage and worthy of preserving materials from the historic structure.
Yeah.
if
I'd
practical.
incorporate that in there.
Let's do that.
Is that clear?
It's as clear as mud.
Is that
I mean,
clear?
yes, it is clear.
As clear as it can be.
It's as clear as it can be. Any other questions, Mr. Chairman, any other questions? Or
Is there
You need a
we
second.
need to have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, the second
First
by
time.
Commissioner O'Quire. All in favor of amending the minutes with this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it unanimously.
Need a motion to approve the amendments as amended.
We need a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor of the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Amended. The minutes have been adopted. It's probably the longest minutes discussion we've had. All right, now we're on to recognition of council members. And I think I saw several. And Councilmember Glover, you want to start us off?
Good afternoon, Vice Chair, Chair, and members of the Commission. I'm here to talk to you today about BL 214-908, or your number is 2014Z-20X-001, the check cashing bill. This is a beginning. There's a number of issues that we hear from our constituents. This is basically a cancer in our city. They build side by side to one another. It's a vicious cycle that unfortunately those who are the least able to afford these types of businesses are the ones who get trapped in these types of businesses. While this is not an end-all and a cure, this certainly is a beginning to help fix what we perceive as a problem, and certainly those of our constituents that complain to us about the number of these businesses who are popping up literally side by side. In fact, driving over here today, there's on the corner of Nolensville Road and right where you turn in to come to the Board of Education here, there's literally two of the same identical businesses sitting side by side. And when I say it creates a vicious cycle, person borrows from one, then when they can't pay that back, they go right next door to the next, and again, it just creates a vicious cycle. So I do ask that you support this. I know we've got some work to do on the council floor with it once it moves forward, but the staff has recommended it, so I certainly hope that you will approve it today, and then let's move forward with it, bring it to the council floor, and let us fix, hopefully, or begin the process of fixing this problem that we perceive not only in Nashville, but throughout our great state. And furthermore, I think we need to take it to the legislature and ask for some remedies there as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I am Councilmember Jacobia Dow, and I'm the sponsor of 214-908, and I come here today asking for your support of the Planning Department's recommendation for approval. Neighborhoods across Davidson County are seeing an increase in predatory loan operations. You don't have to go very far to see that they've begun to crowd our corridors and cluster around thriving businesses in all of our communities. They're essentially taking the life out of a lot of the existing small businesses in our area. It's a constant complaint among small business owners as well as neighbors within our community. I don't think they want them to go away necessarily, but the fact that they cluster around certain thriving businesses take the economic life out of it. Right now, if you look around, payday lenders outnumber Starbucks, McDonald's, and several other businesses in our community. And their prevalence is an obvious fixture in some of our most vulnerable communities. Locally, many communities like mine, we're beginning to feel the impact of the proliferation of these delineating businesses. A recent article shared with potential home buyers stated that when you want to spot a bad neighborhood, look no further than check cashing businesses being present and a proliferation of so many of them. As a local leader, I believe it is my responsibility, along with you serving on this commission, to protect the economic prosperity of our city and the viability of our communities. We've seen, and it's a fact, as proved by science, that the proliferation and clustering of these businesses together has resulted in delineation in certain areas of our city, decreased property values for our residents, increased crime in many of our communities, and economic wealth being pulled away from other businesses as they get into the cycle of debt. It's indisputable as to where they locate. They're on all of our corridors, and any geographical map can easily pinpoint that their strategy is to saturate our market. Now, local government, we restrict all types of businesses, whether it be a hospital, liquor store, adult entertainment businesses. They're all great businesses, but what we recognize is that the saturation and the clustering of them can have adverse impacts. So today what I'm asking you to do is to support this legislation. I do know that we have some work to do on it. I have been willing to work with any of them, adjust any, I know it was mentioned about the size of the actual building. I'm willing to entertain a conversation on that, because primarily what we're concerned about is them siting right next door to each other around good thriving businesses and taking away the business out of the community. So pass this legislation, allow us to work on it with those who have interest in it, and get it right so that we can protect Nashville and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bilby, you want to go next? Let's see, all councilmen. Councilman?
Hey, first of all, thank you for your service. I know sometimes it's not so much fun, but we appreciate the work you do. I am coming here as a council member, vice chair of the planning committee at the council, but also as somebody that is interested in, like I told you last time, about how we're good stewards of change in Nashville. And I wanted to thank you for your vote on the last meeting where you voted to preserve that building. And on the same line, I would like you to think about the positive change we can do by creating the environment and the positive architectural zoning environment so we can have a diverse and positive business environment in our corridors. So I'm one of the sponsors of this legislation that will remove the clustering of these check cashing places. And I'm not here to pass judgment on their business as much as asking you that when we have a concentration of too many businesses in one place, it just takes the life out of other type of growth that we might want to see happening as we explore positive changes in the Strip. So I'm asking you to please support this legislation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Yep, Councilman Davis, you want to go next? Ladies first. Council agent. Or hospital. Ladies first.
I'm waiting my turn. Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair Atkins, esteemed commissioners. I'm Karen Johnson, Councilwoman for District 29 in Southeast Nashville, Davidson County, and I'm here asking that you support the staff recommendation of BL 2014-908, item number 8, 2014Z 020TX001 on your agenda today. I think also you're going to be considering an amendment with your decision today. And in speaking with John Cooper, our attorney, I have no issue with the one amendment in regards to the size of these establishments. However, we do not want any change in the distance. That is due to the fact that many of my constituents have expressed concern about the clustering of these establishments on main arterial roads and thoroughfares. I'm a sponsor of this legislation as well. And one of the things that we want to have accomplished, which I think you have through your staff recommendation, is that the clustering of these along arterial streets and main thoroughfares creates an unwarranted negative impression regarding the economic vitality of a commercial district and the community at large. We are, as a city, responsible for ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of all of our residents and limiting the proliferation of these convenient cash-type businesses, I think, is a smart move as a city. In fact, we're trying to catch up to a lot of cities who are the same size as Nashville, who have already passed legislation like this, which we modeled our legislation after since 2005. So here we are in 2014, and we're the it city nationally, but yet we are having to catch up with other major cities of similar size to Nashville. So I think that this is a step in the right direction. I think that the distance requirement that we have placed within the legislation is consistent with the distance requirements that have been passed in major cities similar to Nashville. And so I ask for your approval today of the staff recommendation with the amendment in regards to the size. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. And I saw another Council Lady Allen. You're going to wait till your bill comes up? Okay. Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Davis? You want to wait too? Okay. Did I miss any council members? I can't see any. I don't see any other council members. I want to make sure. Okay. Good deal. Next is and we have, before we get on to the, with our regular agenda, I do have a special announcement. We have some really special people here. And we have, from the Mayor's Youth Council, students are here. We have 2 students. Are they in the audience? Why don't you all stand up, please? And why don't you guys welcome them to the meeting? thank you all so much for coming, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot. This is government at work, so thank you for coming. Next is our Nashville Next update.
Yeah, Greg Claxton will be providing just an overview of the preferred future for the community. The first meeting of that will be, the actual community-wide meeting will be next Thursday, September 30th at 5 o'clock at Rocketown. And we will begin this process of reviewing it.
Thank you, Commissioners. Greg Claxton with the Planning Department. I've got your Nashville Next update to review the work we did this summer in developing the preferred future. As you'll recall, we're in our second year working on Nashville Next, preparing the general plan for the next 25 years in Nashville. Our first year was broad visioning. This year, what we've done is look at specific ways Nashville can grow over the next 25 years. You'll recall we took 3 different possible futures to the public this summer. One was business as usual, where we have a fair amount of redevelopment, but spread out also. The next 2 were different ways we could grow more intensely using infill and redevelopment. One was called Centers with Infill, where we try to focus into specific centers. The other was Downtown at Pikes, where we focus on downtown and growing out along our major corridors. We took those to the public and asked them to weigh in and let us know what were their preferences for the future and why they chose the way they did. We were very pleased with the participation. We had nearly 4,700 people participate in about 3 months. We're especially pleased because that means that we've sustained participation at a very high level throughout all of our 2 years. We've had 15,000 participants throughout all of Nashville Next. We're eager to see that continue over the next couple months as we unveil the preferred future. We started this summer by asking people to rate out of 12 different values what were their top 5 most important. These were different things that we could compare our 3 alternate futures on. The top 5 choices were housing affordability, access to jobs and services, transit access, walkability, and economic development. These are consistent with what we've heard throughout the rest of the Nashville Next process, so we were pleased to see that we're hearing consistent things from the public. We then asked people to take a look at our 3 futures and rate each of them on a scale of 1, poor, to 5, excellent. Business as usual, rated poorly, about 2 on that 1 to 5 scale. Centers with Infill and Downtown at Pikes did considerably better, rating about 4 on that scale of 1 to 5. However, when we asked a further question, if you had to pick one of these as your preference, what would it be? The public overwhelmingly chose Centers with Infill, which was the one with the most extensive transit network. We believe that's why people were picking that. Throughout this process, working with the public, working with several resource teams on different topics, evaluating these futures, we really came down to a small number of issues that made C and D different from each other. C, as I mentioned, had a much more extensive transit system, was better for access to jobs and services, better for economic development. On the other hand, Downtown at Pikes was better for household affordability and preservation of residential character. As we started looking at these results, as we began working on the preferred future, our kind of the main task that we grappled with was how do we take the strengths of C and the strengths of D, the things that people valued out of each of those, and combine them together so that we can have have a future that provides the best increase in quality of life for Nashvillians. 6 key things that we identified from the summer and from our entire process so far that we wanted incorporated into the preferred future. The first was protecting sensitive environmental features. Second was building a complete transit network, maintaining and improving household affordability across all income levels, developing and encouraging mixed-use walkable activity centers throughout most parts of the county, encouraging infill strategically to support transit use and support those activity centers, and then protecting and enhancing the character of different parts of the county. A few issues that I want to make particular note of that influence how we develop this. First were our transitional areas and infill areas. I mentioned that we want to do this strategically to support transit use and affordability in our walkable areas. What we're looking at is providing a graceful transition between denser areas and lower density areas in a way that provides a better urban experience, but also provides us more housing options, more affordability at buildings that are a little bit cheaper to construct. The second thing we want to look at is how do we build support for a transit system that works across all of the county in a way that recognizes that it's not something we can create overnight. It's not something where MTA can go out and build the transit system that people are asking for in the next 5 years. We need to evolve our transit system, our roads and infrastructure, and our the way that the city is built, where our homes and jobs are. We need to have those work together over time to create that transit system. The last point I want to make is that compared to our community plans, which all of our futures are based on, the preferred future is not proposing any radical changes. The conversations that we've been having with the communities throughout the county over the past 10 or 15 years is still very relevant. Instead, what we've heard is the need for more and better tools to achieve and implement the community plans and the community vision. Better tools for maintaining affordability, for spurring demand across the county, for managing demand. When a neighborhood becomes hot, better managing the success, building the transit vision, growing greener, and maintaining fiscal responsibility, being a good steward of tax dollars. Our preferred future, I'm very briefly up on the screen. Generally, we're looking at the green areas, our green network, natural features, natural areas, parks and open space that we want to preserve and expand in some critical areas. The very pale yellow areas are our neighborhoods, areas that we want to preserve and enhance over the next 25 years. The orange areas are mixed-use activity centers. We want to get those working in a way that they become assets for their communities, that they anchor the communities around them, become a place where people, whether they live there or work there, but they can also visit, see their neighbors. And then the blue lines are the transit vision for the future, a high-capacity, high-frequency transit network that allows people to move around throughout the county and get where they need to go. This was just a very brief taste of what we'll have people look at and review with us starting next Thursday at Rocketown downtown at 5 p.m. Following that, throughout the month of November, we'll have 4 other meetings throughout the county. People can find out where those meetings are and how to participate online at NashvilleNext.net. If people are not able to make it to the meetings, we'll also have an online survey for people to provide their feedback as well. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Any questions of the commission members? Thank you very much. That was very informative. And remember, save the date, October 30th. Now we're on item letter F, which is items for deferral or withdrawal. Bob?
Yes, we have several items for withdrawal or deferral, starting with item number 4. This is 2014 DT-001-001. This is a request to appeal the denial of a modification of the downtown code signage regulations to allow for signage for U.S. Bank for property located at 333 Commerce Street. The request is to withdraw, and staff recommends withdrawal. Next item is item number 5 on page 6 of your agenda. This is 2014 S-162-001. This is a request for final plat approval to remove the reserve status and create one lot on property located at Old Hickory Boulevard unnumbered. The staff recommendation is to defer to the January 8th, 2015 Planning Commission meeting. Next item is 7A, case number 2014 CP-007-006, the West Nashville Plan Amendment. This is a request to amend the West Nashville Community Plan by changing the community character policy from T4 Urban Neighborhood Maintenance Policy to T4 Urban Mixed Use Corridor Policy for properties located at 333 and 335 53rd Avenue North. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 13th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting. Next item is item 7B, 2014 SP-062-001. This is a request to rezone from OR20 and CS to specific plan zoning for property located at 333 and 335 53rd Avenue North to permit a restaurant and grocery store. The staff recommendation is to defer to the November 13th, Planning Commission meeting. And the last item on the deferral list is item 12, 2014 S-205-001. This is a request for final plat approval to create 2 lots on property located at 2624 Enos Road. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 13th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Bob. You've heard the items for deferral, items number 4, 5, 7A, 7B, and 12. Is there a motion to defer or withdraw these items?
Number 4 was to be withdrawn, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
I move we accept that recommendation from the staff.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of deferral, say aye of these items. Ayes have it, unanimous. And now we are on the consent agenda, item G. Up.
All right, as information for our audience, if you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. As noticed to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. So as I read the following items, please raise your hand if you would like one of these items removed from the consent agenda. The first item is item number 1, 2014 SP-041-001. This is a request to rezone from RM20 to specific plan zoning for properties located at 1212 Hawkins Street and 1119 and 1121 Sigler Street to permit up to 19 multifamily units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Next item on the consent agenda is item 3, 2004 UD-002-006. This is a request for a revision to the preliminary UDO for phases 5 and 7 and final site plan approval for phase 6 for a portion of the Villages of Riverwood Urban Design Overlay District located at Hoggett Ford Road unnumbered to permit up to 228 dwelling units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Next item is item 6A on page 6 of the agenda, 2014 CP-004 or -005-004. This is a request to amend the East Nashville Community Plan by changing the community character policy from T4 Urban Neighborhood Maintenance to T4 Urban Community Center for a portion of the property located at 1034 West Eastland Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item 6B is the associated case, is 2014 SP-075-001. This is a request to rezone from OR20 to SP zoning for property located at 1034 West Eastland Avenue to permit a mixed-use development. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions if the associated policy amendment is approved. Item number 8 is 2014 Z-020TX-001. Okay.
No, 8's been pulled.
It looks like we've got a request for 6A to be removed. So
So that'd be 6A and 6B?
6A and 6B go together, so we have a request to remove those two from the consent agenda. So that would move us to item number 8.
Has 8 been pulled?
8's been pulled.
8's been pulled, it's not on the consent agenda anymore.
That would move us to item number 9, 2014 Z-021TX-001. This is a request to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code, the zoning regulations pertaining to short-term rental property. Staff recommendation is to disapprove the bill as it was submitted at council, but to approve the substitute ordinance that has been distributed. That's in your staff report. Item number 10 has been pulled from the consent agenda, so that moves us to item number 11, 98P-007-007. This is a request for a revision to the preliminary and final site plan approval for a portion of the Seven Springs Planned Unit Development Overlay District for property located at 347 Springs Way to permit the development of a 7-story building and an associated parking garage. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. And under other business on page 8, item number 13, new employee contract for Alex Deas. Staff recommends approval. Item 14 is a contract amendment for Brandon Burnett. Staff recommends approval. Item 15 is a request to reinstate Lexon Insurance Company, which was excluded from providing surety bonds for 1 year pursuant to Section 6-1.2D of the Metropolitan Subdivision Regulations at the January 9th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting to be permitted to provide surety bonds. And item 20 is to accept the director's report and approve administrative items.
All right, Bob, one more time, just real quick, the numbers that you have, since we've changed a few. Let's go through them slowly with us.
Okay. On the consent,
Yep.
Item number 1, item number 3, item number 9, item number 11, 13, 14, 15, and 20.
All right, so we have items 1, 3, 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, and 20. And I need to abstain from item number 9. And is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it unanimous. Now we are on to our first. We will open up the public hearing for our first item, which is item number 2.
Just for the record, item number 2, the commission closed the public hearing. If you wish to have a public hearing on item number 2, you'd need to reopen that.
So, is there a motion to, you've heard the discussion, you've heard the explanation.
It might be more appropriate for us to do the presentation, and then you can decide whether you want to open the hearing or not.
Legal staff, that's correct, right? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, item 2 is a request for Church Street townhomes. Properties outlined in red. This consists of several properties and part of properties. This is near the southern boundary of the county with Brentwood. Request is rezoned from R40 to specific plan to permit up to 107 residential units. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, including updated conditions from Public Works, which you should have at your desk. Just to go recap of this, and Greg and Rick just kind of touched on this a little bit. The public hearing was originally held on August 28th. At that time, staff recommended disapproval of that plan. The public hearing was closed, and the commission recommended that the request be deferred to the September 25th meeting. Since then, the plan has been, or request has been deferred several times to provide more time for the applicants to work with staff, and I think they had several community meetings. Since the plan has changed, our recommendation has also changed, and we are recommending that you reopen the public hearing. So the current zoning is R40. It permit a maximum of 23 units. That would consist of 19 lots with 4 duplex lots. This is the previous plan that was considered in August. It's for 118 units. Staff recommended disapproval of this plan. We did not find that it provided an adequate transition, nor did we find that the plan internally provided a pedestrian-friendly and walkable neighborhood due to numerous curb cuts within the new streets. This is the proposed plan today that you are making a recommendation on. It's for 107 units, approximately 6 units per acre. Includes attached units, which are in the area outlined in red. It also includes detached units, which are on the eastern property line, on the eastern side of the site. Those are 28 units. Access will be from 2 points onto Church Street. Staff finds that the new plan provides a better streetscape. They have removed numerous curb cuts and have provided alleys. So you can see almost all the lots except for the 4 lot units at the very top of the drawing are all front loaded, or I'm sorry, rear loaded. The next few slides go over some of the renderings and conceptual building design. This is for the attached units. The plan requires stone, brick, masonry, and masonry foundations. It requires 3 stories, a limit or 45 feet at the back, and 2 stories or 35 feet along Church Street, which minimizes the height at Church Street. The height at the back is due to topography where they're working the buildings into the topography where it drops off. It also requires stoops and porches along all streets. This is another view of the attached unit conceptual along Church Street. This is another look at the attached units. This is the 4 units at the back that are front loaded. These sit up higher than the rest of the units, so they're kind of the highest point of the property. This is another view of the attached units and the internal streets. Another view. The detached units, which run along the eastern property line, as well as from the second entrance to the east. They also require stone, brick, masonry with cement, fiberboard, masonry foundations. They permit only 2 stories at 45 feet. Staff is making a condition that I think it was a typo in the report or in the plan that they also are limited to 2 stories and 35 feet along Cloverland as well as Church Street. It's another view of the attached units. These are the units that would be along Church Street. The policy is suburban neighborhood maintenance. That policy supports a variety of residential, including single-family, 2-family, as well as multifamily. This area is located between a higher density residential just to the west, as well as the commercial center to the west, and then single-family residential to the east. This property is a good location for a transitional type use, which is supported by the policy. There is also some conservation policy which follows around a stream which bisects the property. It's important to note that there has been a variance from the Stormwater Management Committee which permits them to cross that buffer or that stream buffer. Staff finds that the request is mostly consistent with the policy. The plan supports several critical planning goals, including supports infill development, provides a range of housing choices, and creates walkable neighborhoods. In conclusion, staff is recommending approval with conditions, including updated conditions from Public Works if the Commission finds that the proposed plan provides an appropriate transition.
Thank you. So we haven't reopened the public hearing yet, and so that's where we are in the hearing. Commissioner?
This is one where the recommendation of the staff is to approve now, but also the staff recommends we reopen the hearing because it's much different. Is that right?
That's correct.
I move we reopen the public hearing.
There's been a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second? Any discussion on that? All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it unanimously. Now we are ready to open. The public hearing has been opened to consider item number 2. And Mr. White, you have 10 minutes to speak.
Before we start, let me just note that we have received a request from the Homeowners Association, Cloverland Acres. In accordance with your rules, that request will be honored, and that they will have 5 minutes to make their presentation in lieu of individuals that are part of the Cloverland Acres Homeowners Association making individual presentations. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Per our bylaws.
I told the Planning Commission back to withdraw that request. We'd rather speak as individuals.
Okay.
Okay, that's been withdrawn, and they'll speak as individuals. So, just so everybody knows, the applicant gets 10 minutes to speak. You can reserve up to 2 minutes for your rebuttal, Mr. White, and then the opponents have 2 minutes to speak each, since there's no neighborhood representative. Mr. White?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Tom White. I live at 36 Old Club Court. I represent the applicant in this case. We can start the clock again here.
And let me go ahead and preface, stop the time for a second. Sometimes happens is in these public hearings, people get excited, but I'm going to warn the audience that you need to abide by our rules or you will be kicked out of the meeting. So, Mr. White.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Tom White. I live at 36 Old Club Court, and I represent the applicant in this case. I would request the 2 minutes for rebuttal. As commented by the staff, this matter was heard at the Planning Commission on August 28th. At that point, the staff had recommended disapproval. You heard from the staff at that time and again today that the density on the property at 6 units per acre is not the issue with the staff. That was not any part of the recommendation of disapproval last time. The comments had to do with product type and design. And that's the issue where it was deferred to see if there could be further communication with the staff, with members of the neighborhood, et cetera. And as was commented, I think it was Commissioner Clifton that made the comment that there were good professionals working on this matter. Hopefully they could continue to work and come up with something that would end up with a recommendation of approval. That has happened here. Now, with respect to the specific matters, if you listen to the presentation by the staff has clearly now recommended approval. And they said, and this is quoted in their report, the plan has changed significantly and the staff recommends approval. Why? Number one, because they're now mostly rear-loaded properties. Number two, there's a better streetscape. Number three, there's more usable open space. Number four, there's a better transition in density. And number five, there's been a great elimination of curb cuts. With respect to traffic, which was another matter that was raised here when this matter was heard, it's obvious that we're not responsible for the traffic that is out there now, but we should take sensitivity in our development to make sure that the impact is as negligible as possible. Bobby Murphy is here and we'll address that matter with the commission. He can also be asked questions by the commission, but that has clearly been taken into account. The big picture here is we've listened specifically to comments made by the members of this commission, by the members of the staff. It's been worked on significantly. There's now a clear recommendation of approval. And in the big picture, the density has been reduced to 107 units, which is basically 6 units an acre. As the staff report says, the density could go up to 20 units an acre. 6 is clearly, in our opinion, a very good number and recommendation. Furthermore, in the big picture, we've done presentations with neighbors throughout, and the average price is basically at $400,000. There are some that are slightly higher, some slightly lower. That is the average price here. You've seen the elevations. It's a particularly well-done development. Last thing I'll comment about is that the members just heard from Nashville Next representations, and what did they indicate among the key goals? It was absolutely that infill is something that's a total priority for Nashville Next. You can't have a better site for a good infill proposal than this one. It's a good quality builder developer, and basically you've got some good professionals and the engineering staff working on it. We urge you to approve this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. You'll have 2 minutes for, oh, we have more speakers. Perfect.
I am Jeff Hines with Littlejohn, and my role is I'm going to help you understand very briefly the differences between the plan today and where we were previously when you saw this. 4 key points to make to you. We heard the concerns of the community, we heard the concerns of staff, and we worked very diligently at addressing those. One of those was transitioning of housing types, massing, and density to be more reflective of the neighborhood. And west of this property is 18 units to the acre, attached apartment buildings. East and north of this property on Valley View and Cloverland is single-family residential. The new plan matches the types of residences and the scale of those residences to the neighborhood. taller townhomes, attached townhomes along the western portion, transitioning to freestanding single-family cottages on the eastern portion. We also have introduced an open commons area along Cloverland Drive, which we heard the comment from the neighborhood. One individual said, I have a deep front yard on the eastern side of Cloverland. We matched a common open space there to provide more of that feel. It is still a transition, but it's one we're respecting. Rear loading of garages, second point. All of the residences now are rear loaded, excepting that one building that Jason Swaggart pointed out. And the only reason that building isn't is it transitions grade and it fronts internal to the development. All of the residences fronting outward toward Cloverland, Church Street, or even the northern property boundary will be 2 stories in character, matching the heights of the surrounding residential. Preservation of natural buffers and providing new buffers in the plan. This plan preserves a great amount of additional green space, natural area, and existing trees on the site, not only along the central drainage way, but also around the perimeter of the site. And we are supplementing that along the northern boundary with additional plantings to a D-level buffer yard, which is the most stringent, the most intense of the buffer yard standards. And lastly, traffic. As Mr. White said, we did not create the issue of traffic in this area. Metro currently has a study engaged to look at provisions that will help mitigate the traffic, not only in this area, but throughout the southwestern portion of Davidson County. We are doing our part. We've had a traffic study done. We are providing a free-flowing turn lane southbound on Cloverland Drive, which will help separate the traffic that wants to go eastbound on Church Street or Cloverland at that point versus westbound, and will provide a more free-flowing intersection there. So we are making improvements to the traffic network within that area and doing some improvements. Mr. Dale is going to speak to the density issue.
Thank you, Commission. In front of you is a fairly important document. There's been a lot of discussion about density on this site. As Jeff had mentioned, you have 18 units per acre on one side, 2 units per acre on the other. You could take those together, add them together, divide them by 2, and you'd say 10 units per acre is what you'd have. But you know, that's not really going to work. That doesn't take into consideration the shape of the property, doesn't take into consideration the elevations. And so I did a lot of research, and in front of you is something that I derived that's that actually shows you how a transition should take place. What I did is I assigned values of 18 units per acre on the left side of your page, 2 units per acre on the top, 2 units per acre on the right, and just divided them out. I had them entered in the computer just like there were contours, and I had contour lines generated that basically represent density. And then I took the areas where the stream buffer is, I cut that out. I took the area where there's a steep slope, I cut that out, and that resulted in 6 units per acre. What's more important is that if you look at this, you'll notice how these contour lines are laid out. The contour line that's closest to the northerly property line represents 3 units per acre. If you take that contour line and go to the property line, the resulting density that falls within that area is less than 3 units per acre. The resulting density that falls within the next contour line is less than 4 units per acre. And so what this shows you, and I think it's one of the big questions that you have, is how do you translate density? This is how you do it. But not only are you translating density here, you're translating the massing of the buildings as well, and the separation of the buildings. So as you get closer to the 2 units per acre, the buildings are spaced apart. They're 2 stories. What it provides is more open space, more air, a mixture of units, which I know you're looking for. Less mass, and more or less, I'm running out of time, but this more or less shows you how the transition should take place. Density has not really been a question as far as the staff is concerned. It's the translation of how that density should be placed. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes for rebuttal. And now we are in the audience wishing to speak. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the project, please come up to the microphone. And you have 2 minutes. And if there's anyone else, please try to line up in the middle. I know it's a little crowded.
Yes, we own the property directly in front of this. And
We need your name and address, ma'am.
I'm sorry. My name is Catherine Santisteban, and we own the property from 519 to 539 Church Street East, directly in front of the property that is the proposed development. And we would most likely be the ones to receive the biggest impact from the traffic and the things that are going on. And we've been involved with things in other areas and seen that if you don't integrate the neighborhoods where you have places for people that are getting older to live in their same communities, then it's a bad thing for them to be pushed out of their communities. And what's going to happen is that some of these people are going to be stuck with maybe something they're not going to want in place of this. A school that brings in a lot of cars, a church. What's proposed to be coming here will raise the tax base. Maybe it will alleviate some of their tax burden. And the way it is, if we continue with things like they are, the elderly people won't have a place to stay in their same community. There's no place for them to downsize. People that work in this neighborhood, they won't have a place to live close to where they work. They are wanting to have everything the way that it has been for the last 30 some odd years, and no change, as if they owned these other parcels of property. But the way it is, you know, life changes, things change. With more income coming into the area, there will be more of a tax base to put sidewalks, maybe parks, to change the road. To the back of our community, to the back of our property is Annandale with $1 million homes. And this property in front will have it so that elderly people will be able to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Good afternoon. My name is Loretta Shelton. I reside at Church 552 Church Street East, which used to be Hardscover Road. And I'm the one that went with the people to help name Church Street East. I like to see this go ahead with the new buildings and the new homes and everything. We are the only single house on Church Street East as of today. A few years ago, they came by and said we need a 3 lanes going by your house. Well, we gave the property for them to do that. We was glad to do that so more traffic could come through. And so that kind of put us downhill. We didn't like going downhill. And while I'm here for my time get up, last week it was a lot of rain. We didn't see Church Street flood. It wasn't no flooding there. I live right on the street. Okay, and another thing I would ask y'all to do, please, now the planners, they have gone down from 119 to 107 units. I ask you all to approve this.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Robert Shelton. I'm so glad to be here today.
We need your address, Mr. Shelton.
That I live on Church Street East, 552 Church Street East, Brentwood. And we've been there ever since '68. And I've seen a lot of changes there. And when we moved in there, when night come, it was night. And I'm so thankful now that we are seeing more light and been a lot of improvements. So I'm hoping that this Planning Commission will approve this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Ben Claybaker. I live on 808 Favorite Circle. Probably the way the crow flies, I'm approximately about a mile from this property. I go by it twice a day at minimum to work and back home. Ever since the signs popped up for rezoning, I've been paying pretty close attention. I was I was opposed to it at first. When I looked at it, I was kind of afraid of a couple of different things. One was just the quality. I just figured somebody's just popping up buildings just to make a quick dime, and the other one is just having more just multifamily all the way to the block. And when I come in here today, I look at the way that it looks like the developers have been working with the city and trying to accommodate. I like this transition. It goes from the single family transitioning closer to the multifamily. So, and the quality is above what anybody could imagine. It doesn't look like it's just somebody throwing up buildings trying to make a quick dollar. I'm in favor of it. I think it's a great plan, and I hope you all will approve it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Fernando Santisteban, and I live in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I have an interest with my wife in the property she described earlier in 539 Church Street. I have been going to a lot of the meetings in the past 4 or 5 months, and basically what I noticing to all of the residents of that area is all related to traffic. And as many of us mentioned in the past, that's something that is there and it will be there until in the future the city doesn't do something different. But I feel myself that this development is well done. I have done one myself in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I just wanted to mention to you that I am for with the 6 units per acre.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak in support of the project?
I thank you all for your service to our community, and I appreciate very much the privilege of appearing before you today. A lot of the things that I was going to say has already been covered.
We need your name and address, and speak into the microphone.
Yeah, Don Branham, and I'm at 5689 Cloverland.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, some of the things that I was going to say has already been said, so I'll just delete those. But basically, I would like to ask for your support for this project, and I believe it's a good thing because I have like 4 or 5 reasons here that I've written down and I want to be concise with. But I believe that the new plan that they have totally fits with the character of the neighborhood. Because there will be little or no increase in the traffic, and I mean, increase in the traffic, yeah. And then there's little or no burden on the school system added, and no burden on the city from the standpoint of roads or infrastructure. And last but not least, I think it will generate more tax revenue, and what government entity does not need more tax revenue? So for these reasons, I want to come today and support the program and ask for your support of it, and I appreciate the privilege of speaking before you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in support of the project? Seeing no others, we'll go on to the folks that are in opposition. If you would, too, please kind of line up so we can go a little bit quicker. Yeah, and so you have 2 minutes to speak. Let's try not to be repetitive on the same issues, and that way we can get through it. There's a lot of you here. So, and talk into the microphone. Please address the chair, and just your name and your address.
My name is Charles Blackwood. I live at 5650 Cloverland Drive, Brentwood, Tennessee, which is in Davidson County. It's near this property. It's been noted that the transition is taking into account the transition from the apartments up above this on the west side of the property. It has been not noted that, and it has been noted by the developer and some other people, that Annandale Properties is right across the street from it. Those are $1 million houses. There's been no note in this that the transition from take into account that property into going into our neighborhood. Annandale is in Davidson County. Some of the houses are. So there's two transitions here you're trying to deal with. Plus, they're trying to install in this project several walls, retaining walls, in the back of this property adjoining the existing properties. One of them was indicated at the last meeting. It was going to be 500 foot long, 6 foot to 9 foot high. When I requested information on the other wall, they did not comply with giving that information up. Now, that transition, I have never seen a transition in a neighborhood setting where you transition within a neighborhood and you have a wall of that size that would transition from one level to another. It's usually done by grading in a neighborhood setting. I've never seen one in only place I ever see any kind of transition with a wall use in a neighborhood is when it's adjoining an interstate, some type of roadway, or a commercial property. And you see only other times you use is in apartment complexes and multi-units. So it is not appropriate for this neighborhood.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Ryder. I live at 5680 and 5672 Cloverland Drive. So I'm right up to the east of this development. I might add on his comment that the other place you see walls are like between East and West Berlin. So wham, there's the start of a new thing over here. This development on the corner up there is not what I consider a good transition. We don't have buses, we don't have sidewalks, we have lousy drainage. I have stormwater coming through my place that I like, but it also comes across my driveway, which I don't like. So any changes to stormwater is not good for me. And I don't think that increasing the density up there is going to help with Nashville Next objectives. So I urge you to disapprove. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Chad High, 5652 Valley View Road. And I attended the last meeting back in August when the staff said to disapprove this, and then you guys started to talk about it. And I looked through the minutes this morning, and one of you had a problem with the transition, one of you had a problem with the infrastructure, one with the density, and 3 of you said it was not in line with the land use policy. And it was well on its way to being defeated until the last minute when someone said we need to remove that motion and defer this. And at that time, it was 119 units. And so now that we come back and it's 107 units, you know, the plan does look different, but it's still 107 units crammed on a property. And I would disagree with the Little John representative that there are 3-story townhomes in that northwest corner of the property that are going to be backing up to large lots, acre-plus single-family homes. And they do, on the west side, are adjacent to the apartments up there on the hill. But the bottom line is just, in my opinion, and a lot of my neighbors' opinion, not an appropriate transition into our community with all these townhomes being put in. So I ask that you not approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Betsy Stubblefield, 5711 Clover Hill Drive, Davidson County. I oppose this because I don't think it does preserve the general character of the suburban neighborhood, characterized by development pattern, building form, and land use. That's in your policy. The product this developer has is not in keeping with what's there. I don't believe this product preserves the character of the neighborhoods in the area. The development company is so entrenched in using townhomes that it has resisted envisioning a different kind of product. Instead, they keep tweaking a product that wasn't suitable from the beginning. I believe this is the wrong developer for this property. This parcel needs a developer with a vision and imagination to create a product that is unique to this location in the community, its size, and its terrain. We do have a range of housing choices within a mile radius of this. We have condos, apartments, townhomes. The developer's starting point for transition is with the apartment complex that sits at the Brentwood city limits instead of with the physically larger community of single-family neighborhoods to the east and immediate north of the parcel. 24 two-story units with a setback of only 35 feet on Church Street ensures a streetscape that is not consistent with the neighborhood development patterns to the east and north. Cottages are better than townhomes, but aesthetically the setback is still just horribly off. I'd like to see a local developer work with this property, somebody who's already worked in the area. We have developments like Copperfield and Lock Haven, they're a better fit. This is not the last remaining infill property in Davidson County that can accommodate a townhome development.
Amy Greer, 5801 Cloverland Drive. My son Lucas is 15 months old. You might have heard him crying in the background, and I apologize for that. It's his first Planning Commission meeting. I am from Cloverland Acres, and we've been communicating quite a bit within the neighborhood about this development. Most people are open to change. They consistently say, I'd love to see a Lock Haven or Copperfield, 3 to 4 units per acre, single-family homes. Everyone just really feels like the townhomes is not consistent with what we have if you go down Cloverland, like from Edmondson all the way to the proposed property. About 5 days ago, we put a petition out on change.org, and within 5 days, we received 162 supporters asking that you guys disapprove this property, this proposal. About half of those left comments, which I think you guys have in front of you. I would just really encourage you to consider the community feedback, because when there's such a large number from the community that are giving such consistent feedback, that's probably a sign that there's something not right about this proposed development. We're not just neighbors trying to stop any change. We're really subject matter experts when it comes to living in this area. We know Cloverland and Church Street. We live it every day. And I think just consistently the community has said this is not a good fit for us because of transitions, because of densities, because of the product mix, because of traffic. I think the reasons go on and on. And I would just also like to say, I know there was a traffic study, but people who live here every day, literally I look out my window, it's a parking lot. And I think there's just going to be continued concerns about traffic, and it's going to be a major problem that we shouldn't add fuel to the fire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Edie Streams, and I live at 5617 Cloverland in Brentwood, immediately north of this area. I realize you asked that we not repeat ourselves, but one of my feelings has been all along is that this just isn't the right fit. There was the presentation about the transition was interesting, but the zoning was set up when that apartment complex existed. And it was set at R40. That's perfect. Let's find, as the previous speaker said, let's find a developer who has the vision to build appropriate homes within the existing zoning. So my request is that you not approve this property.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Brenda Martin, and I live at 5680 Cloverland Drive. I'd like to read a couple of things that I found on the web referring to other infill and urban renewal projects. And they all say that the way these projects really work best is if the new development contributes to the distinctive neighborhood character, and that with the guidelines and standards that are in place with the zoning rules, that these specific areas that they continue with the character of the area, that so it will not be threatened, and it will essentially respect and be sensitive to the existing neighborhood character. The guidelines should focus on integrating into the new neighborhoods and not disturbing it. At this point, I think this transition will disturb our neighborhood. Look on the website for Little John. If you look on their website, that is a big company, and they do have many different areas. One of the things that I did note was a lot of their plans look just like this, except they were for 600 acres. There was one plan that was for 700 acres. But they look like these plans. They look the same colors, the same template. It's like they took these templates and put them on this lot. So they may be really good at that, but I just don't feel like that they will serve our neighborhood and keep the character of our neighborhood in such a manner. A few weeks ago, there was an accident on Cloverland. The fire truck was on Church. It could not get to the accident victims. Therefore, I feel like our safety in our neighborhood is at risk. If any of us have a need for medical attention during the rush hour, it's not possible to get into our neighborhood now. With this new development, it will only aggravate that situation. So one of the things that this commission should certainly be responsible for is our safety in the neighborhood, our public health and safety, which certainly Nashville Next also has one of their pillars of their new developments over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name's John Sherlock. I live at 5613 Valley View Road. And I was here at the August meeting when, right before the board almost voted to disapprove this, and then they decided to defer. I believe the rationale was because we have such a qualified and excellent builder that we don't want to jeopardize passing on this builder, and maybe we don't get a skilled builder in the future. And I asked that the commission would just stay steadfast and true to the neighborhood and the constituents that you represent, because this would not improve the quality of our life. I don't know how the staff does not recommend that this density is still not an issue, because the density is an issue. If you spent any time in this area, I just do not see how this infrastructure can support another 107 units on this corner. Right now, we're already pushed to our brinks. The streets, as the previous speakers have said, are just completely overloaded. And I just would hate that the commission make a hasty decision or a decision based out of fear or playing the what-if game, that what if we don't get a better builder in the future. And I vote to disapprove this. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is William Hansard. I live at 5655 Valley View Road. Been there for 22 years. The property for the proposed Landgen Church Street townhouse is directly behind my house. My family and all the neighbors I have spoken to about this project are strongly opposed to it. Landgen has been trying to insert medium and high-density development into our single-family residential neighborhood for over a year now. First, they proposed 300 units, including apartments, townhouses, and retail shops, in a residential neighborhood. Then Landgen proposed a 119-unit townhouse development. Both of these proposals were shot down by the planning department and with strong community disapproval. Landgen realized that changing the zoning from R40 to SP to get townhouses into a single-family residential neighborhood would require a more creative approach. You will note, please, commissioners, that the planning department approves this contingent upon your approval and acceptance of appropriate transition. But what Landgen and their consultants have proposed as appropriate transition is a shell game. And you have to look at it carefully to find out where the P is under which shell. Consider the following points. There's no need for a transition zone between the Executive Brentwood Apartments and this development. The apartments are spatially well separated from the proposed development. The transition goes in the wrong direction. The transition zone would be consisting of townhouses, which are not in conformity with the neighborhood construction. So I urge you, this is lipstick on a pig, do not approve this project.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Butch Ely, and I live at 217 Jones Parkway. And first, I want to thank each of you for the work that you do and the opportunity to be here today. I guess I may be a little different than some of the people opposing in that I'm not anti-growth, and I certainly am not opposed to good development. But I believe strongly that if we're going to continue where we're headed in Nashville, as the it city, as the councilwoman said earlier, that we've got to have thoughtful, well thought out development, and we've got to have managed growth. And when I listen to the evolution of this process, as we've heard, I think we're still not accomplishing what the land use policy that this board this commission has adopted. And it's not these guys' fault. I mean, there's nobody better in the city than Little John and Tom White and Bob Murphy. They're the best. I forgot Roy did. They're the best. And this is not their fault. I want to help them too. But this doesn't make the most sense. I mean, what bothers me the most is we're putting the cart before the horse. I mean, we've got a land use policy for the city. And if you, the commission, if you believe that this is the best thing to happen throughout this area, then we need to change the land use for the whole area. And then Councilman Banks needs to go about getting the infrastructure in place to take care of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Garrett Mihawk. I live at 1060 Beech Tree Lane, which is just east of this area. Land's End and all their supporters have purposely avoiding the elephant in the room, which is 107 units means 200 automobiles. The traffic thing is almost impassable as it is now. This property borders downtown Brentwood, and the proposed development would be right on Church Street, which is the only artery into downtown Brentwood, which is the place for lessons, business, take your kids, shop, eat, everything in that area. It's a one-lane road with no shoulder on either side. Adding hundreds of new cars to this daily logjam would effectively cut off downtown to every family east of this development, and it's a huge residential area. It's a parking lot now from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m., and then in the afternoon from 3:30 to 6:30 at night. It backs up to the point where you make decisions if you live in this neighborhood just not to go because it's so packed. It's preposterous to add a bunch of new cars to the area. If Land's End is giving funds to perhaps widen the road, which it definitely needs, then I'm in favor. Otherwise, I urge you to reject this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Members of the commission, I'm Charles Fentress, and I served on the city council for 24 years. And I certainly am not anti-business. I was always known as a pro-business councilman. I see your chairman smiling about that, and Mr. Clifton realizes that. I'm not against growth and development because we do need the tax base. However, Tom and one of the best lawyers in town, Roy Dale's a good engineer, Little John's all right. Well, they're good too. But Tom and them don't want to talk about density. We've never been an issue, density. If you add 107 units to this property, It's already a parking lot. It's already a parking lot. It's got to get worse. I can't get out of my drive. Oh, I'm 5601 Cloverland Drive. I can't get out of my apartment complex, condo complex, to go left or right, AM and PM, because of the traffic. Let me just say this to you, and I'll hush. I hope you would consider, I understand there's a petition, I don't know if it's been presented to you all or not, with 100 and something signatures on it. Listen to the community. Listen to the community. And don't just listen to high-paid lawyers and high-paid engineers and high-paid engineering firms. Listen to the community. Please, listen to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greg, that was just for me.
I figured, Councilman.
Thanks for listening to everybody tonight. I hope you all received my communication with you that's in your packet. It outlines some of the finer details of why I'm asking you to recommend disapproval on this particular proposal. I think, as folks have said, many of us are not anti-growth. In fact, many of us are very much pro-growth. The issue here really is, and this is the question you have to ask yourselves, is whether or not this transition is truly the one that gets you down Cloverland Road in the best kind of way for the community. If you are familiar, and I know some of you are extremely familiar with the Cloverland corridor, it is already overloaded in terms of the amount of traffic. I understand Bob Murphy has done a wonderful traffic study, and I think it is probably very accurate. But I would say that those additional trips that he has described in that traffic study are already going to significantly impact what we see happening on the Cloverland Drive corridor. It is also important to keep in mind that, again, Tom White's one of the best guys you could ever work with. So is Roy Dale. So is Little John. Pulte Homes, of course, we know they are very reputable. The issue is not who we're working with here. They've been very respectful in listening to the community. I think they actually have listened to the community. I think the issue here is we couldn't get it to a place that really fit for this particular property. It is a very large jump to go from what it currently looks like to take it to 6 units on this property per acre. So I hope you will keep that in mind. That's why I am, again, asking you to disapprove this. Again, we can figure out something that can work there, and I believe that that's what we can do here moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman.
Hi, I'm David Hooven at 5811 Cloverland Drive. I've been a realtor for 14 years. Well, excuse me, 17. It flies when you have fun. I'm saying that because I also worked with CPS Land in a couple of different developments, one in Nolensville, and of course everyone knows Annandale. This property is a finger. If you look at, they don't show that up here, but if you look at it, it's just a finger of high-density properties in the middle of a residential subdivision. Now, how you could justify that is beyond me. The second issue is this property is begging for a gated community with high-level homes, just like Annandale. There is no gated community there. This is the wrong development for this property. I think a couple of people have mentioned that. So I won't go into that, but I appreciate it if you would look at the bottom line of rezoning a finger into a residential area, and I'm not sure which finger that would be.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? If not, it's time for rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
I'm Bob Murphy, RPM Transportation Consultants, and we prepared the traffic access study for this project. We, of course, know that traffic is a serious issue at this location, and we take that very seriously and looked at the traffic impacts in very great detail. Our traffic study was reviewed and approved by Metro Public Works. We did include in that study recommendations for improvements, traffic signal, as well as lane improvements at the intersection of Cloverland Drive and Church Street. With those improvements, the levels of service at that intersection will be maintained as they are with the background conditions. And just to talk for just a few seconds about the traffic generation. You know, we followed accepted procedures in generating the projected traffic, and the additional traffic on Church Street will amount to about 2.4% increase, whereas the additional traffic on Old Hickory Boulevard will be less than a % increase. So we feel like we've adequately addressed the traffic impacts.
Mr. Chairman, obviously this commission's aware that your role is the planning role. The legislative body is a different process, but this is the planning matter. From a planning perspective, there's no good reason why this plan should not be approved. We go to the next level, it may be changed at the council, but as far as a planning commission matter, which is your focus today, it should be approved. Everybody knows the Nashville Next study, 1 million more people in this part of the town, 250,000 of those in Davidson County. Is this not the appropriate area to distribute the growth? It can't always be in one area. There's a number of people that are supportive. I'd like them to raise their hands. Some of them spoke, some of them did not. And basically, I'd ask the councilman, since density still continues to be an issue and we think it should not be and the staff doesn't, I'd like the councilman to suggest what he thinks is an appropriate density. He's here. Thank you for your courtesies.
We'll declare the public hearing closed. Now we're up for discussion. Keeping with our tradition today, ladies first. Andre, you want to start us off? Or do you?
I guess I have some questions. I mean, the biggest picture for us is that we have to look at policy. We have to look at density. Some of the issues with traffic that we have to deal with are complex because we need density in order to afford the traffic solutions like transit. So we have to decide on those terms too, where where the balance is and when we do things in order to build toward actually solving problems. If we're going to have better bus lines or better transit, we have to find the density to support it. So we have to ask ourselves that from a policy point. So that's something I'm sort of struggling with, is about timing for our policy when we push for those things. I guess one of my big issues that you've heard before always is when we have slopes and trees and we're not protecting them. I wonder on sites like this if instead of phase 4, if the property could be developed to the east or the southeast of the creek and keep the hill and the trees, that would be something to consider in the future quality of life in this whole area. How many trees and hills are we leaving? What is it doing with ultimate erosion, habitat, all those things? So y'all have heard me say that all the time, but this one seems pretty marked. And I heard the question about the wall. I had one specific question, which is the D-level buffer. I think I see where it might be on the northern part of the site. And is that all trees? Is that wall? How's that buffer made up?
You see, this is the landscape plan. We actually, when it came in, the last edition of this, we asked for more buffering. It was because, you do have a wall along, I don't know if you can, along this side here, and then there's one here, and then there's one back here. So they had a lot less landscaping at that time, so we asked that they put a lot more in. And so they did do that. So this landscaping is behind the wall, so the landscaping would be on the back side, so the landscaping between their project and the neighboring properties.
Okay, well, that just raises my question of where here the slopes are. If we need that much wall for transition, how much cutting are we doing of the hills? I guess I'd like to hear from everybody else, to hear what you all think about the policy balance and the timing.
Thank you. Jessica?
Well, I think Commissioner LaQuire raises a good point about the density and how that will go into our larger discussions about transit policy and so on. I struggle with thinking this is the location to put the additional density to try to get to push those policy discussions. You know, and the concept of, to me, as I look at the plan, I don't necessarily see that it's a walkable neighborhood that would encourage people ultimately to start moving towards public transportation. It's walkable within the small area, but it's not really creating a walkable, connected area. I have to say, I think the traffic study, though it says it's not an issue, I'm really struggling to see how it's not an issue. And having driven around that area, I can sympathize with the community's concerns. I recognize that this is a planning issue and that I do appreciate what they have done to try to shift the plan and make the density closer to Cloverland, more in line with the remaining community. But I think that I'm just feeling like this is not the right location for this number of units at this time.
Thank you. Derek?
Yes, I have several issues. First and foremost, as I look at the community plan information, it says, you know, the community plan supports preserving the general character of the suburban neighborhoods. And as we look at this as a transition area, I don't think that we have really accomplished that. I don't think that we are at a point whereby this really preserves the character, the general character of the area. Secondly, with respect to density, I do believe that, and traffic, and I'll include those together, I know that we went from roughly, I think it increased the daily trips up to 624 daily trips. And I work in Brentwood, and I live off of Edmondson Pike, and one of the reasons people travel up Cloverland is because OHB is too busy. Now Cloverland is overly saturated with vehicles and traffic, which causes me some concern, and we're going to increase it by 624 trips on a daily basis. That's something to be concerned about, and it does impact the quality of life. And thinking about this from a comprehensive planning perspective, if we look at all the developments that are going on in this area, and this area is growing exponentially, and if you look at all the growth that's going on, it's hard to look at this in a vacuum, because it as you add this one plus this one over here and this one over there, it all adds up. It's all connected, for lack of a better term. And so we have to make sure that we look at that and consider that as we make our decision about this development. And I just don't think this development is there, personally. I don't think this is the adequate transition. I don't think this is the place for this particular development. And again, it's going to impact a number of homes and people in this area. And needless to say, might I add, this is also a cut through from people who are coming from Nolensville, who are coming from Rutherford County. They're all cutting through this area. And it is a parking lot in the morning and in the evening as well, because there's a mad dash into Brentwood in the morning and a mad dash out of Brentwood in the evening. And it's a bad situation. It's a parking lot. So I'm not quite sure that they are where they need to be. I'm not against it. I think the quality of and the workmanship of what they're proposing is excellent, but right now I just don't think it's there.
Jeff?
I need to recuse myself.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you want to go last? Or you want to go now, Chair?
I'm okay. Throat's real sore, but I think they've spent some time at the staff's request to go back and make changes, and some that we had proposed last time. All of these now load on the alley, except for the four up on the northwest corner. And the product, I think, blends in with the area. There's certainly maybe $1 million homes across, but these, I think they mentioned about $400,000, and everybody can't in that area live in $1 million home. It meets the policy, and I'll listen to other commissioners, but I think that maybe they've made that this time that if we do pass it, it still goes to the council. The council is going to listen to the neighborhood and make their decision at the council level, no matter what we do. So,
Stuart?
Thank you. I believe in staff presentation, and this might have just been a misstatement, but did I hear at least that this project was mostly consistent with the policy?
That's correct. I mean, we're saying that this is a better plan than what was originally submitted, and that it provides a better transition. But the policy requires that appropriate transition is in place, and so we're asking that you make that determination. Is this an appropriate transition for this area? Without that transition being appropriate, then it would not be consistent with the policy.
And the staff believes it is an appropriate transition, but wants us to ratify that?
We believe it's a better transition. I mean, could there be a better transition than what's proposed? Absolutely, but is this the transition that as a commission we're looking for at this location?
Okay, thank you. I suppose I am actually happy to be the one who made the request that we defer this as opposed to voting it up or down, because I think things are much clearer this time. We deferred it not because we thought there'd be necessarily unanimity, but because there were specific staff, very serious questions about product and design and whatnot, but also just to give us time to think about what is a major development. I suppose that I am, with the possible exception of Commissioner LaQuire, and perhaps Commissioner McLean, the most optimistic about how we must have more density. We must have different kinds of housing in different areas. And yet, having listened to everything and considered the undeniable fact that every now and then the density that's proposed, even with styles better, and obviously they've done a much better job from the staff's perspective in coming up with better products and placement, it comes a point where the existing infrastructure, as Mr. Ely said, is just, the infrastructure problems are just too overwhelming, I think, even from a planning standpoint. Even though we know that a political decision could be made at the council, this may be one of those situations where the existing situation, even if it doesn't make it as much worse as we might have thought, the existing infrastructure and traffic situation, frankly, is hard to justify, in my judgment, of adding something like this. So it's not that it has, to me, it's not a matter of it having a different kind of feel or a different kind of housing. It doesn't bother me that this is townhomes, because we need, for all the reasons that we talk about from time to time. I just think this is a situation where, with the one-lane road, with the numbers we're seeing, with what's there already, with no shoulder, I think it has to be improved infrastructure before we can approve something of this magnitude. I would not be supportive of this.
Thank you.
Well, these are never easy, are they? I've got a few questions and then a couple of comments. First question is, I guess, for staff. Does the community plan identify any future additional connectivity in this area?
I don't believe there's something on the community plan for this.
Or any plans, anything out there that would increase connectivity and disperse traffic in a better way?
I think other
There's really not anything that's in the plans right now to do that. In fact, part of the problem is that there is very, very little connectivity. There's not likely to be any more connectivity. And to be quite honest, there's not likely to be any significant improvement. The only improvement would be a long-term improvement, which would be a transit improvement. And National Next Transit Plan basically calls for links north-south along the I-65 corridor somewhere, not necessarily on I-65, but along that corridor, and east-west that would go along Old Hickory, probably come down Cloverland to Church and through Maryland Farms and back up, that would ultimately connect, kind of be that loop that would connect Hickory Hollow to Bellevue. So that's the only practical solutions. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about that, but the reality is that the infrastructure needs of this community are so overwhelming that the cost of doing this would probably not justify itself for the benefit it would create, the cost of widening the streets in this area as opposed to elsewhere that would have a much more significant impact on handling change in traffic.
Well, that was, I guess, my next question too. Seems like so many infill projects are always required to provide future right-of-way for street widenings, and I question what the major and collector street plan calls for with Church Street in particular, and really sort of surprised that some sort of dedication, and maybe there is one here, but
there is a condition for dedication. The right-of-way here varies, so as far as what the plan shows, until it comes in for final, we'll just have to look at it then if they need to figure out how much right-of-way is required. Church Street is a collector, and Church Street is an arterial, and Cloverland's is a collector. So both of those streets are on the major collector street plan, and we would have to look at it at final.
Okay. And then, do you have an aerial photograph? There was a question about the setbacks on Cloverland and the character of Cloverland and sort of maintaining the goal of the community plan of maintaining the community character. I don't know, it's hard to see here, but I think what we've seen is pretty big setbacks on Cloverland generally and lots of trees.
Correct.
Yeah. So that would be, I guess, a concern that I would have. I agree with the former councilman that they've got a great team. They've made some great improvements to the plan that address the staff concerns and some of my concerns. But, as hard as this decision is, I think this community's got some really more difficult decisions to make in the future with regard to, where are we going to buy some lots and connect some streets? Where are we going to widen roads and tear down some homes, and where are we going to create more cut-through traffic through neighborhoods to solve the traffic problem? And those aren't going to be fun decisions for the community to make either. So that's all I've got.
Councilman?
Thank you. Looking at these traffic and parking problems in many other areas of the city, and I've heard a lot of it here, this is an area that I've really, really been concerned about long before now, because it seemed like we get the building in before we do the infrastructure. And that creates a lot of problems in a whole lot of areas around town. It's just my opinion that most of these problems occur because of building before you get the proper infrastructure in place. And I can really support the staff recommendation if I could see more time put in terms of discussion how you solve this problem. I mean, I've been out there. That is one of the other areas that I avoid. I just don't go. And there's some other areas around town I don't go for the same reason. So it just seems to me that at some point in time, we got to get to a place to say, let's build the structures around the traffic and parking rather than the traffic and parking around the structure. Because it's hard to do that once the structures are built. So I just have a real problem with those type of situations, and I just don't believe, because of traffic and problems, that this plan prevents to provide an appropriate transition on its own face. So that's just my take on it. Too many cars, not enough space.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion? Call for a motion.
Move we disapprove. Second.
It's a motion to disapprove and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of disapproval, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No. Ayes have it, 9-0.
8-0.
8-0 with, excuse me.
Did you get the correct vote on that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
We'll let everybody.
I can do that real quick.
Yeah, hey, miss, should we take a break?
Whatever you want.
I think we could. You want to take a break?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me do 8 first, if we're going to take a break.
Okay. Hold on, let's get everybody, let's let everybody.
They're not going to.
If everybody could leave quietly, please. We're still in session. We have lots of items to discuss. So if you were here on that item, and then everybody else can move up. But let's try to exit the building quietly.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to item 8, the check cashing, there were 2 people that requested that item be pulled. They have informed us that they do not wish to speak on that item. I don't even know if they're here. They may have left. Oh, Mr. Weaver's in the back. I think I see him. And he does not plan to speak, and Mr. Holland does not plan to speak. If you wish, you could approve the staff recommendation on that.
Well, let's make sure that there's no one else in here to speak on it. Let's have everybody kind of keep moving, and then let's see. Is there anybody left on item number 8 that wishes to speak?
Speak in opposition. Okay, yeah.
Is there anyone on item number 8, let's be clear, to speak in opposition? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we would add this. Approve it as recommended by staff.
All right, there's been a motion to approve item number 8. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving item number 8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, 9-0. You were in an 8-0. Commissioner Haynes was not in the room. We need to make sure we get these correct.
I get to get them right.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I need to recuse myself on item number 6A.
Okay. We could keep moving forward, or do y'all want to take a break? All right, let's keep moving forward. So we are now on item 6A, presentation.
Good afternoon. My name
Everybody, hold on one second. If everybody could sit down and let's take conversations outside the room because of the microphone. So let's.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Wood with the Community Plans Division. I will be presenting item number 6A on your agenda, which is case number 2014 CP 005004, a request to amend the East Nashville Community Plan. After I make my presentation, Lisa Milligan will come up and make her presentation on the zone change requests associated with this plan amendment, which is item 6B on your agenda, and that is case 2014 SP 075001. The request is to amend the East Nashville Community Plan by changing the community character policy for a portion of 1034 West Eastland Avenue from urban neighborhood maintenance to urban community center. And you see the property outlined on this slide in a black dashed line. The staff recommendation is to approve the request as shown here. The proposed amendment area is located just behind the existing mixed-use area that fronts on Gallatin Pike between West Eastland Avenue on the north and Maxwell Avenues on the south. The proposed amendment area includes an existing building and part of a parking lot. The western edge of the amendment area lines up with Bailey Street to the north. And you can see Bailey Street right here, and then the yellow line, basically if your eye were to extend Bailey Street all the way down to the south, that's how it lines up. The area proposed for amendment is zoned OR20, which permits office and residential uses. The urban neighborhood maintenance policy was a direct translation of the neighborhood general policy that was applied to the site in the 2006 East Nashville Community Plan update. That policy translation was adopted by the Commission earlier this year. The site was placed in a residential policy in 2006 because the office and residential zoning provided an appropriate transition between the more intense mixed-use development along Gallatin Pike and the single and two-family neighborhood to the west. The exceptional property depth was also a consideration for applying residential property to the site in 2006. As you can see, the property itself, the parcel itself, extends all the way back past where it would line up with Bailey Street, making it considerably deeper than other parcels along the corridor that were in the mixed-use policy. The translation to the community character policies in 2014, however, provided stronger guidance about how to provide transitions between areas of differing intensity through building form and overall site design than the old land use policies that were in place during the 2006 plan update. And this is a major factor that's shaping the staff recommendation of approval. Other factors shaping the staff recommendation are the site's proximity to a bus rapid transit light station along Gallatin Pike, and the fact that the area around the intersection of Gallatin Pike and West Eastland Avenue has deeper parcels than some of the other areas along Gallatin Pike, which makes it easier to accomplish transitions to adjacent lower intensity neighborhoods, and also provides opportunities for uses like grocery stores, such as the one across the street, that would require greater property depth. And based on these factors, staff recommends approval of the proposed amendment.
We're going to hear the...
Thank you. We'll open...
No, we're going to hear the...
the 6B together. Sorry.
Okay, I'll be presenting on item 6B, which is a request for a rezoning at 1034 West Eastland. The request is to rezone from OR20 to SP to permit a mixed-use development. Staff recommends to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions if the associated policy amendment is approved, and to disapprove if the associated policy amendment is disapproved. The property in question is 4.66 acres. It's located west of Gallatin Avenue, south of West Eastland, and north of Maxwell Avenue. The current zoning of the property is OR20, which would permit a maximum of 93 multifamily units. Adjacent zoning includes MUGA, RS5, a proposed SP to the north, and OR20. The proposed plan includes a mixed-use building and townhomes. The mixed-use building would include up to 320 multifamily dwelling units and up to 6,000 square feet of non-residential uses. 17 townhomes are also proposed. The multifamily and the non-residential units are located in the large building that is closest to Gallatin Avenue, the building here. This is West Eastland, and Maxwell Street and Gallatin Avenue is further over. So the multifamily and the non-residential are located in that building, and also structured parking. The proposed townhouses are located adjacent to the existing single-family along an extension of Bailey Street that will connect to Maxwell Avenue. The mixed-use building is proposed to be a height of 4 stories and 65 feet along Maxwell and 5 stories and 75 feet for the remainder of the property. The townhomes are proposed to be 3 stories and 36 feet maximum. The proposed pedestrian environment on Bailey Street, adjacent to the mixed use, would be 4-foot planting strips and 8-foot sidewalks. And adjacent to the townhomes would be 4-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalks. Along Maxwell Street, it's proposed to have a 4-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalks. And along West Eastland, 4-foot planting strip and 8-foot sidewalks. These are some images of representative architecture for the building. They have proposed various development standards that include interruptions of the facade plane every 50 feet. Also, 45% of the residential ground units will have a porch or stoop with direct access to the sidewalk. All residential units will have a minimum raised foundation as well. The existing policy, as Cindy explained, is T4 Urban Neighborhood Maintenance. The proposed policy is T4 Urban Community Center, and the proposed project is in line with the proposed policy amendment. This plan also meets 4 critical planning goals in that it supports infill development, creates walkable neighborhoods, provides a range of housing choices, and provides a variety of transportation choices. This is taking an existing underutilized lot and intensifying development on the infill site where infrastructure is currently in place. It provides additional housing choices, and it is located near a bus line that runs along Gallatin Avenue. This shows the existing site, which is an existing building and a large surface parking lot. In conclusion, staff recommends approval with conditions and disapproval without all conditions if the associated policy amendment is approved, and disapproval if the associated policy amendment is disapproved. This is based on the fact that it is consistent with the proposed policy and it supports several critical planning goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will open this item up for public hearing. We'll consider both 6A and 6B together. And Councilman, I know you've been waiting a long time. Would you like to speak now or later? Councilman Davis.
I want to thank. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'd like to thank the commissioners and former council members sitting on this panel for your hard work and free dedication to the city, and by saving the taxpayers' money by volunteering to do this. Now, let's get down to business. This is along the Gallatin Road corridor. Originally, the zoning on this calls for intense office, up to, and correct me if I'm wrong, up to at least 15 stories of office would be allowed in this corridor, or 10 or office. 20 units, sir. 20 units per acre. So 4.
The existing zoning of OR 20 has a maximum height of 30 feet at the setback, and then there's a 2-to-1 slope plane, or sorry, 1.5 to 1 slope plane. The MUGA, which is along Gallatin Road, has a height of 5 stories and 75 feet at the build to line, then a 50-foot step back, and a maximum of 7 stories and 105 feet.
Okay. So possibly a maximum of 7 stories with office, which we all love office, it brings jobs. However, in this intense residential corridor, I think the best play here, and hopefully the planning staff and commission agrees with me, that we are running out of apartment units in the city. We are growing. We are a beautiful child that's growing into a wonderful adult. And I just want to thank the Planning Commission for working hard. The developer, I've done my research. Some of you don't know I went to college in Daytona Beach for my undergraduate degree and my graduate degree from Tennessee State. And the developer has built a development there. And I interned for the mayor of Daytona Beach, and I talked to him about the kind of company this is proposing to come into my district. And a couple of the city council folks and commissioners down there, and they kind of told me that they are very high on hiring for diversity, women, African Americans, and Hispanics. They're very builder-friendly to the community, and they were great community partners. The owner, twice at 7 o'clock in the morning, was at in my neighborhood having breakfast at Charlie Bob's with my constituents before this even came to planning to discuss what they wanted to do. Maxwell Heights Neighborhood Association and Greenwood Neighborhood Association, they met with the heads like, Larry Eaton, which we all know, and other neighbors, like Anita Armstrong with Greenwood beforehand. And before they even put it on your plate, they're meeting with my neighbors. Before they decided to say, hey, we want to do this. And so I'm in full support of development, but also this will bring up to $1.4 million in property tax revenue after it's built. And we need the revenue because our Metro employees are underpaid by at least 20%. And more importantly, with this, is our Public Works Department has blessed us enough, and to my next community meetings, Public Works has been with me at the Maxwell Heights community meeting explaining their plan on how to adding the left-hand turn lane and other streetscaping to assist in keeping the traffic flowing along this corridor, and we're going to continue to work with the Public Works Department in increasing traffic flow throughout this district. They've also started adding the streetscaping as far as the different sounds for the lights changing at the crosswalks, and they're continuing to work with, our Maxwell and Greenwood neighbors. And the architect has been out to several meetings with us, and the staff has just been meeting people to death in my district, getting their impact, getting their input, and assessing the impact to my community. And please support this, and I want to have the right to come back at the end if I choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So the applicant, the public hearing is open. The applicant has 10 minutes. Who is the applicant? You have 10 minutes to speak. You can reserve 2 minutes of that 10 for a rebuttal.
Okay.
So,
and
thank
you
you for
want to
coming.
reserve 2 minutes, right?
Please.
Okay. My name is Rob Crumpton. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm the president of Live Development. Also with me is my partner, Andrew Murray. I'd like to thank Councilman Davis for those kind words on our behalf. And we have had a great experience working with Metro Public Works and the planning staff and working with the neighborhood associations in and around the project. And we've hired a great local team to ensure that the development is developed in a certain way, and we're trying to be good stewards of the property. And we want to create lasting and long-term enduring value for the parcel. We're multifamily developers based in Birmingham, Alabama. We develop across the southeast. In the past 2 years, or currently, we're developing in Austin, Texas, Charleston, South Carolina, Daytona Beach, Birmingham, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, and Chattanooga, just to name a few. With that, I'll turn it over to Sean.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the commission, here you go, Ron. I want to comment just on the policy change here. As you can see by the map on the screen, the area that we're talking about really is a missing piece of the puzzle because it's presently in neighborhood maintenance. And with this policy change, and I'm sorry, Sean Henry, 315 Dedrick Street, representing Live. With this policy change, you'll see that node around the West Eastland Avenue and Gallatin Pike node will begin to fill out and make a little more sense from a depth standpoint coming off of Gallatin Pike. You can see that it is now going to be as far west as it is as far east from Gallatin Pike. And this policy change is providing for a development that, as previously mentioned, it's zoned OR 20 now. Under OR 20, a taller building, a more massive building can be built there today under base zoning than can be built along the frontage of Gallatin Pike at that 7-story cap. So the policy, we think, certainly deserves to be modified, and importantly, we're only changing it for the first 3/4 of the parcel. The last 25% or so of the property, that policy is not being changed, and that's where townhomes will be constructed. My client has been very diligent about reaching out to the community. They've had at least 8 meetings before coming here before you, meeting with Maxwell Heights leaders, meeting with Greenwood Neighborhood Association. We have a letter in your file. You should have received that from the president, who said that this is a win-win situation for the neighborhood, the property owner, and the development community. And of course, the east side of the street benefits as well. So we think the comparable depths makes this good sense. This is an arterial street. West Eastland Avenue is a collector street. The transit options that are there, the pedestrianism that this policy change will allow to have happen is important for the community. And if you noticed on that prior photograph, aerial photograph, most of this site's covered by asphalt right now. It's completely underutilized. This policy change will enable that property to be put to higher and better use, and putting a mixture of uses on there. And you're going to hear in just a moment extensive amounts of parking to accommodate parking pressures that are occurring in the nearby area. There's going to be extra parking on this property. And with that, I want to mention that Bob Murphy is here to answer any questions you may have, as well as Kevin Gangaware is doing the civil on the project. It's a context-sensitive design approach to this property. This policy change will support that. This was on consent. It was pulled off. We recommend that you endorse the staff recommendation of approval. And with that, I'll sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Lisa, would you mind pulling up the site plan, please? Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Scott Morton with Smith G Studio. We are the architects for the project, and it's been a pleasure working with this team. Really from the start in the design process, the goal is to create a project that would create value with an underutilized property, as well as respecting the surrounding context of the residential community beyond and the commercial center within Gallatin Road. We wanted to provide much needed housing options within the community that are not currently available in East Nashville, as well as providing some opportunity for neighborhood retail. One unique opportunity presented itself early on was by expanding the street network through the site. Bailey Street is this, to the north is a street that currently dead ends on West Eastland. And the goal was to extend Bailey Street through our site, adding in a much needed new network for the street network surrounding our property. But also it served as a transition for the development to go from an increasing density along Gallatin Corridor, which is more part of the community center part of East Nashville, transitioning to a townhome development adjacent to the Maxwell Heights neighborhood beyond. And so the street in itself would start acting as our transition from the increased density to the low density across the site. Most of the intensity focusing towards Gallatin Road, close to the BRT stations, as Sean mentioned before. Project would consist of up to 320 units, multifamily units on the main site, with 17 townhomes on the transitional piece, and up to 6,000 square foot of neighborhood retail could be provided along West Eastland. One important issue we heard repeatedly through the extensive community engagement process was the issue with parking. Parking was a major concern from all the constituents we met with throughout the process. And as part of our development, we made it very clear that it is in our best interest and our intention is to provide all the parking within our internal parking structure on the site. So we'll park 100% of all the residential units, and 100% of all the commercial tenants will be parked internal to the site. In addition to that, we're providing up to 50 additional spaces of on-street parking that will help supplement some of the parking needs in the area. And those will be available to the community completely, first come, first serve, available for guests of the project as well as the surrounding community. Another major concern was traffic. So as part of this project, we hired RPM Traffic to conduct a traffic impact report, and the findings of that report included that capacity, once the development is complete and fully leased, that traffic conditions near the development are expected to continue to operate at acceptable overall levels of service. In addition to that, the report recommended several improvements to the site and to the surrounding intersections of the site, including new sidewalks for all the streets surrounding the property with new street trees and the pedestrian improvements and site amenities. Pedestrian and signal improvements for the Gallatin Avenue and West Eastland intersection, which is at the major intersection where we have a lot of congestion in East Nashville. Provide a center two-way left turn lane on West Eastland from Gallatin all the way to our new Bailey Street extension, so providing a turn lane continuous through the to our site for traffic coming into our site, into our garage, and into our new street that we're providing. Modifications to the cross-section of West Eastland Avenue to remove the curve in the roadway at Bailey Street. There's currently a major S-curve on West Eastland that, as part of this development, we are going to be working with Public Works to remove the S-curve and improve that traffic through our site. Refurbishing the pedestrian crosswalks at the intersection of Gallatin Avenue and West Eastland Avenue, adding new pedestrian crosswalks and curb ramps at all new intersections, providing 2 separate entries from the parking garage to disperse traffic during peak periods. If you look at the site plan, you can see that we provided entries from not only West Eastland, but as well as Maxwell Streets. And lastly, that's it. I'd like to reserve the rest of the time, please. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 1 minute and 35 seconds for your rebuttal time. And so now, anyone wishing to speak in support of the project, please come to the microphone. You have 2 minutes, and please state your name and address.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brett Withers. I live at 1113 Granada Avenue. I'm about 2 to perhaps 3 blocks from this intersection at Granada and Gallatin, just a little ways up. So I'm very, very familiar with this intersection. I'm also happen to be the president of the neighborhood association in that northeast quadrant of Gallatin and Eastland. And while my neighborhood has not held a community meeting on this per se, I have attended some of the community meetings that Councilman Davis has hosted. And I know that some of my neighbors in my neighborhood were able to attend those, including residential and commercial property owners. And they specifically were very interested in the traffic impact study for that. And I believe that their questions were answered at that time. So I guess in that regard, on behalf of my neighborhood, I would like to express my appreciation to Councilman Davis, who's on a different council, but it still affects my district, the District 6 that I'm in. I would like to express my appreciation to him for hosting those community forums and for the development team and being so proactive and even working with us. I would also point out that Commissioner G and as well as Scott Morton are my neighbors in Eastwood, and I don't think that they would put forth a proposal that would trap them from getting to their houses. So I just want to appreciate the amount of effort that has gone into reaching out to our community overall on this traffic study. Yes, it's true that a lot of our neighborhoods would prefer a more radical revision to that actual intersection to align it. The neighborhood leaders in Rediscover East have worked with some of the property owners. We actually requested that planning look at that more intently, and it was determined that that's not feasible. But under the circumstances, again, I'd like to thank Councilman Davis from District 5 for working with Public Works to get us at least what we feel is the best possible solution to that, and we support the housing diversity that this project will offer at that juncture. So thank you so much for your time, and I urge support.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dane Forlines. I live at 805 North 2nd Street, and I'm in support of this project. I think that it will serve the BRT line along Gallatin very well. With the higher densities here, can provide some ridership. I like the increased connectivity that the extension of Bailey Street provides. And I believe this project, although it's much larger in scale than what is currently there, I think it minimally encroaches on the single-family character of the adjacent neighborhood. And I think that it now announces very well a transition between the commercial area of Gallatin and the residential area to the west. If there was one aspect of this plan that I would like to see improved, it'd be the developer committing to set aside a small number of units to be affordable to further enhance the goal of providing a variety of housing options. But I think it's a very elegant proposal. The design is high quality, and I think it will very much support the goals of the Nashville Next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner and board, and thank you for letting me have this opportunity. My name is Xin Lu. I represent the current property owners, Sophia's Heart. It's hard to stop the progress of the community, but I believe we can pick the right, decision, the right plan, and we can develop a better community. This developer they are actually is not on our first offer. They actually is on our second offer. They not have a very high offer down there, but we did our due diligence. We find out that they care about the community. And whatever they did before and what they're going to do right now, they're going to get the benefit for everybody. You can hear from the plan that they cannot do a whole lot from the Gallatin and the West Eastland, the traffic down there, but they're willing to sacrifice their space. They will get at least 50 more parking spots for that neighborhood. They opened the street, they expanded the Bailey Street, and that's something they care about this community. I just want to say, as a nonprofit, we've been over there for 4 years. We believe that this community can even better. We thank the Councilman Scott Davis and supporting us, and he will going to continue supporting us and fight the right location for us to housing more homeless family in the community. Again, I just want to thank you for your time, and we support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the project? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the project?
I don't necessarily know if it's opposition or not. I had a couple concerns. My name's James S. Sweeney. I live at 1027 West Eastland Avenue, and I own property at 1035 Chickamauga. And the plan looks great. I like how they run it through Bailey Street. That's going to help divide the traffic up between Maxwell and West Eastland. I was concerned with the height. Was it 3 stories for the townhomes, or was it 3 stories in an attic? That can add a little bit taller. Water, sewer, is it going to affect my water pressure or the sewer in any way? I apologize, I missed the first meeting. Some of this stuff may have been covered under that. But that's about it. Everything else with the plan looks pretty good. It's a lot of units for right there. I understand the developer has to turn a profit on his investment and get so many units to do so. I just, 300, what is it? We're just shy of 340 units with the townhomes. I was kind of more hoping towards a 3-story looking, I live directly across the street, so I'm going to be looking at it. Anyway, I guess that's my only question is it going to affect the water, my water pressure at all? Is it going to affect my sewer? That's about it. Thank you.
We'll get those answered for you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I can answer the water and sewer questions. They've been reviewed, and they will have to match their standards, which would be no decline in pressure. So.
They've already done a photo test and such, I mentioned.
It's part of, they've reviewed the plans. Yeah.
Ma'am?
Commissioner, panelists. My name is Lisa Spells. I reside at 611 North 5th Street. I am not coming to you as a council member, nor a member of the commission, nor as a politician. I'm not coming to you with the vocabulary of any of those agencies or entities. I am addressing you today as a community, long-term, since 1963, homeowner on North 5th Street. And my concerns are these. 1, the history of the community. The history includes where the facility where Sophie's location was a hospital, then a rehab facility, and now it is another private entity. private entity versus public use, public homeowners. We are looking at the request of a construction that will have 93 family units, 17 townhomes, 320 multi-non-residential components. That's a lot to impress on a community of this magnitude. Small, independent home dwellings, small family detached dwellings, a few apartment complexes, limited public parking on the street. So if in the construction of the facility, we don't get enough coverage for parking, if I have 2 cars and I have a 1-car parking location in the building, or if I'm an office building and I need my clients, I'm an attorney, I might see 20 clients a day with overlap, and I will need extra parking. Where do I park? Let's go around the corner and park in front of Miss Lisa's house. Public parking, I can't stop it. So let's look at parking statistically. When meetings are called in our community, mostly they're for our community neighborhood organizations. What does that mean? We do have some people who moved into the community who have developed associations. Majority of the people in those communities are not members of the association. They don't get noticed. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christy McCullen. I live at 1027 West Eastland Avenue, so directly across the street from this development. My concerns are traffic. I know Councilman Davis spoke to the adding of the turn lane on Gallatin Pike, but that will not affect the traffic heading east on West Eastland. As it is now, you cannot get through one turn of the light. You have to sit through a whole nother turn of the red light before you can turn left on Gallatin Road or continue straight onto Eastland. I also have a concern of the height restrictions on this. This is directly across the street from RS5 zoning with 1- and 2-story residences. So a 5-story building towering over those does seem like not a very good transition to the historic neighborhood that it is adjacent to. So the traffic concerns and the height concerns are, and again, the density of it. I do think that this property would be better to be developed, but 300, and that's excess of 320 units does sound like an awful lot for that small property. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Now it's time for the rebuttal. You have 1 minute and 35 seconds, right, Rick?
Great, thank you very much. I'll be quick. As far as the density and looking at the number of units, we really think that focusing the density here on the corridor next to the transit stations will really help alleviate some of the development pressure that's happening internal to the community. Regarding the on-street parking, we are providing 50 spaces that are publicly available as for the community on the new street that we're providing, as well as on West Eastland. Deeding part of our property to the public right-of-way to provide those on-street parking spaces. The question about the West Eastland intersection, we are providing, adding a new lane of travel, a center turn lane. It's going to be continuous from the Gallatin Road all the way to our new Bailey Street extension. So it will add further queuing spots for people turning on to Gallatin Road. Currently, there's limited queuing available for people at that intersection. So this will provide almost 4 times the length that's currently there. Regarding the height, the transition at the single family is really intended to be the 3-story townhomes, and the 5-story on West Eastland is really limited. Across the street is currently just a vacant parking lot, but there's a proposal going in there as well. It's going to be a taller building, but the single family interface is really against the townhomes, and it would be limited to 3 stories. We limit it to 36 feet. Currently, it's anticipated those would be flat roofs, and that 36 feet would be the maximum we would ever consider, but that was just a maximum as part of the application. Regarding Maxwell Street is really our main interface with any single-family home. There's a daycare directly across the street, and then there's a couple single-family homes that would be directly adjacent to our large building, and we have stepped that down to 4 stories as recommended by planning staff to better integrate with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Stuart, why don't we start with you?
So what has I'm somewhat familiar with Gallatin Road. What exactly is on the property right now?
Okay, this shows you the current site. The building is Sophia's Heart, and then that's their parking lot. So it's primarily kind of a low one-story building, and then surface parking.
Okay. What's just adjacent to that parking lot?
Here?
The existing low-rise building.
Oh, this? Adjacent to Gallatin Road, there's actually a multi-story, two-story, goes up in some places, that faces on Gallatin Road. Yes.
Was it Miller? Was it Miller at one time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Well, I certainly, it's a large change from what's there now, and I certainly think the neighborhood, both folks who are raising questions today and who attended meetings, were justified in wanting to get all their questions answered and worried a little bit about it. I'm persuaded that it's a good proposal based on what they could do now, based on the changes that have occurred on Gallatin Road. I think really this would be much better than what's there now. Particularly, I would like to hear again about what was proposed, and I'm addressing both of these together, is that right? Okay. What was proposed in terms of helping the parking? I was listening, but not too well. Or maybe that was what you were saying more than her.
I can address that, though. They will have structured parking as part of the mixed-use building that'll be closest to Gallatin Road. Okay. And that structured parking will meet all of the needs of the residents as well as the proposed non-residential uses. And so then the on-street parking, which I think would be around 50 spaces, would be excess parking that could be used for guests.
That's what I wanted to know. What does that mean, on-street parking? Is it right on the public right-of-way of the street?
Correct.
They're just creating it by taking away?
They're extending the street through their side.
That's right. Okay. So they're creating new street.
There'll be on-street parking along West Maxwell, Bailey Street Extension, and West Eastland.
The side streets as well.
Yes. Yes. And the townhomes will have individual garages.
All right. I'm supportive of this and have no further questions.
Thank you, Councilman Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am also familiar with this particular area. I've been there many times. And, excuse me, I tend to support this project because I know what's there now, and I think it'll be better for that particular neighborhood.
All right, we'll go around, sir.
Okay. As far as the policy goes, I think a concern I've always had when we were looking at corridor policies is to be sure we do have enough depth in nodes and to widen this so it is even a little bit wider. I think in this particular site with the way the property lines up there, I think makes sense, and I think we're still leaving a buffer of OR 20, which was the original neighborhood plan said we want a buffer, and we're leaving a buffer. So I think we're accomplishing kind of both, which feels good. Obviously, we're excited. I'm excited that we're doing density where there is support for infrastructure. I think there are a lot of great points to this that have been called out, and I agree with them. So I look forward to supporting this one.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I also agree. I think this is a great project. I think this is where we need density. I do understand that this is a lot of units, and I drive this area daily, so I know the traffic is challenging, but it does sound like there are a lot of things that are getting put in place to try to alleviate that, and I think this is a great thing. I do second the public comment that I would love to see some units set aside to be affordable, but recognizing that's not our role at this time. I think the project as it stands now is a very good idea for the site.
Thank you. Derek?
No comments.
Yep.
No comments.
We need a motion. Is there a motion?
Move approval. So that's, we need to move approval of item 6A, if that's what you meant. We need to vote on them separately.
Sorry, we need to do the policy first, as we always do.
That's what I meant.
So is there a motion for?
Move approval of 6A. Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of 6A, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It's unanimous, 7-0. Now on 6B, we need a motion.
So moved.
There's been a motion and a second on 6B for approval. Discussion for the staff recommendation with all conditions. Any discussion?
No, they're just harassing you.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 6B is passed, 7-0. Now we are... Okay.
Won't go very far.
Do we still have a quorum?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stuart Lee?
He's coming back.
We're now on item number 10. We're ready for the presentation. We picked up on it. Oh, he was last. I knew that architecture looked familiar.
Take a nap.
All right, item 10.
Item 10, this is the Cleveland Park McFerrin SP. This is a request to rezone from RS5 to SP to allow detached accessory dwelling units on properties located in the Cleveland Park and McFerrin Park neighborhoods in East Nashville. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. All properties included in the SP are currently zoned RS5. The subject properties are located in the Cleveland Park, McFerrin Park, and Greenwood detailed neighborhood design plan and are subject to special policies in addition to the structure plan policies. The SP proposes to permit detached accessory dwelling units in certain locations while maintaining the standards of RS5 for all other structures. The SP is consistent with the detailed policy goals of the DNDP to preserve existing single-family character within the core of the neighborhoods while expanding options to help create affordable housing alternatives. As proposed, the SP meets 3 critical planning goals. This is one of the first rezonings requested by a council member under the new legislation that requires the planning department to pay for the public hearing notices and signs. As proposed, the SP does aim, as I said before, to permit detached accessory dwelling units while maintaining the existing standards for all primary and accessory structures that are not detached accessory dwelling units. The SP includes standards that are identical to those that are already in place for DADUs permitted countywide and 1 and 2 family R districts. DADUs would be permitted on lots with access to an improved alley or on lots that have over 15,000 square feet in area. The SP also includes limitations on size, height, and access to ensure that the single-family context is maintained at the street. Also, design standards are included so that the detached accessory dwelling units will complement the existing primary structures. In addition, provisions are included for properties located within historic overlay districts. However, currently, none of the properties subject to this SP fall within a historic overlay district. Since the SP is consistent with the policies of the DNDP and meets 3 critical planning goals, staff recommends approval with conditions and disapproval without all conditions, and also a substitute bill will be filed to address those conditions.
Mr. Chairman, before you open the public hearing, if I could just add something to the staff report. I really want to compliment Councilman Davis for taking this on. This is an absolutely critical opportunity to provide some housing diversity with proper standards, and it really has taken an idea that we've worked with the community on in terms of a larger application and actually put it in place in trial run with the conditions that are appropriate in terms of location, scale, and size. And so from the staff's perspective, we think this really implements a lot of the things that we have heard in terms of providing housing diversity, and just on behalf of staff, I want to compliment the councilman for carrying this forward and working with the community.
All right. Well, with that said, we'll open the public hearing, but who's the applicant? Is that the councilman, or who's the councilman? Who's the applicant? This is a new thing for us. So, Councilman, welcome back.
Thank you. And thank you again for being here so late, and thank you for volunteering. I want to thank three people, actually three organizations. One, I'd like to thank the planning staff for their hard work and their patience in dealing with this and all the phone calls and helping educate me on this. Second, I'd like to thank my neighbors who rung my phone off the hook for the last 3 weeks. The several community meetings that we've had and will continue to have. And I want to thank Dane Floorlines, my chair of the McFerrin Park Neighborhood Association, for helping me address affordability in our neighborhood, and also to help my homeowners, my regular homeowners, to have an alternative for their relatives and also for a possibility of helping supplement their income and to provide affordability to other folks. Also, like to thank one of my other neighborhood leaders, Lisa Spells, who has expressed other concerns that we'll be addressing. And I just want to thank her just for being there for her neighbors. And right now, I want to talk about the housing fund, and I want to talk about MDHA. MDHA, we had a long meeting Thursday, and any detached dwelling, because we do have currently 20 of these in my neighborhood that are existing. The district used to allow to have, these were allowed a while ago in the neighborhood. However, because of a zone change, which was a good zone change, it indirectly kept people from pulling permits to fix their garage apartments or their in-law suites. And the great thing now is that we're trying to fix that one tweak, which will allow some of our blighted in-law suites that we have to be fixed. Also, MDHA, they have a grant program that will allow, and a loan program that will help those existing structures be fixed without a credit check. And it doesn't depend on your current income, because a lot of my folks in the neighborhood are retired educators and social workers who do not have the money to build one of these for themselves. So if they provide this structure to a relative or somebody, to a senior that is in need, because due to the space limitations, you're looking at a majority of efficiency and maybe some one-bedroom, one-bath apartments. Okay, and the great thing about it is it limits the kind of folks that you're going to be behind there. I mean, I love my grandmother. She's 97 years old. She could still beat me up to this day. My mom's side of the family is from Bahamas. They still believe in corporal punishment. And the main thing, though, is that when I see her, and I see the other seniors, and also I see the young folks in my neighborhood, and I see the housing prices going up in my neighborhood, it's scary. And I just want to thank the community for their patience and their understandings. And I want to make this very clear. This is not a developer-led bill. This is not for developers. It is for you, the homeowner. My other East Nashville neighbors have such structures. Laughlin Springs has at least 100 of these. I stopped counting after going through other parts of my neighborhood. My neighbors in other parts of District 5 who aren't under the RS5 restrictions have these structures as well. My historic parts of my neighborhood, Greenwood, who's under a conservation overlay, and parts of Maxwell, that's underneath an overlay as well. They have a couple of these that are in great shape, that are maintained, and under the historical guidelines, you can have these. And I just want all my neighbors to prosper. I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to tweak this. I know there's going to be a lot of restrictions, and you have to file some of the paperwork with the Registry of Deeds office to prevent somebody from using this as saying, some of my neighbors were afraid, hey, if I build one of these, then somebody could subdivide my property and sell this land separate. They won't be allowed to do that. This is going to be in place to protect. If you sell that house, though, you have to sell the mother-in-law suite and the garage apartment together as a package. Only the homeowner has to be living on the property. Okay, so if you have 5 houses, you can't build 5 of these. You only build 1 in the house that you currently live at. Now, the great thing is what I like for a lot of my seniors, okay, because everybody has worked hard to make my neighborhood one of the greatest places in Nashville, and you folks out here have worked hard, and my senior citizens can build one of these in their backyard. They can put up a privacy fence, they can live there, and they could possibly rent their house out in the front, as long as the homeowner is on the property. Another suggestion with the price of tuition, your child cannot afford to live in the dorm room on TSU, Vanderbilt, Belmont, UT, anywhere. We have too many fine, great institutions. I can't name them all in the city, but you get my point. This is for you. This is not for the developer. You know, I'm sorry, Hunter G., this is not for you. Okay? You can have one at your house.
Hunter might want one at his house.
You know what I mean? And, you know, and that's all I have to say. I just want to thank the commission for their hard work. And there may be a tweak brought back later. We may have to file a separate SP. There was 2 streets that were accidentally left out because they have a lot of commercial along there. That is Grace and parts of Hancock. And I want to apologize to the hardworking staff of the planning department for that oversight. I guess I need some glasses. But I just want to thank everybody, and I'll sit down.
Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate you bringing this, being the first try on this. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? You have, thank you, and you have 2 minutes. Please state your name and your address.
Okay. My name is Brenda Dennis Ewing, and I live at 1214 North 8th Street. And I'd like to thank Councilman Davis for thinking of this, and I also like to thank him for putting into effect the fact that the infill houses that are being built in our area can only be as tall as they are wide. We've had the first one building on our street, and it is a tall, thin monstrosity. And I appreciate him thinking about that. Also, as he's calling it, the mother-in-law housing situation particularly applies to me, not as a mother-in-law housing situation, but the fact that I have a son that has a mental illness, and that one of these days we might have to build a separate facility on our property for him. And for me, and he is not able to work consistently. So something like this, that where he wouldn't have to pay much rent because he's not able to, works perfectly for my situation and his situation. And I thank our councilman for thinking of something like this for people in our neighborhood, the elderly, people who, as in my situation, has an individual, a child, who might profit from this, from having a mother-in-law or anyone, a relative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good evening again. My name is Dane Forlines, and I live at 805 North 2nd Street. This is a zoning request that originated because of resident request. Several neighbors, including myself, asked for this, started asking for this about 2 years ago. And I want to thank Councilman Davis for listening to us and taking this on. I'm in support of this for three primary reasons. One, it supports density goals in a neighborhood evolving area in a way that does not significantly affect the architectural character of the neighborhood streets like some of the two houses on one lots do, as the previous speaker mentioned. Secondly, it is going to provide a relatively lower cost rent option in an area that's experiencing rapidly rising housing costs, and Councilman Davis spoke to that. As you know, this was one of the highest values rated among Nashvillians during the Nashville Next process. Number three, it provides rental income opportunities for all homeowners, but of particular importance to me, those that are on a fixed income, those that might see their property taxes and maintenance costs increasing to the point where they feel pressured to sell, gives them an opportunity to stay in place. One point I'd like to see added to the SP, and we're still talking about this, is language that preserves the affordability of these units in the future in order to promote the socioeconomic diversity of the neighborhood moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. My name is Brett Withers. I live at 1113 Granada Avenue. I want to commend Councilmember Davis for working with us on the original DADU bill that was passed, Bill 769, a little while earlier this year. I was one of the folks that spoke in favor of it then as a resident of a neighborhood that had historic zoning and as a person who saw the benefits that this option had in our historic districts. That was an experiment that worked so well that we decided to see if other people in the county might benefit from it, whether or not they had a historic district. So I know that Councilman Davis was very interested in that, even though on the east side of Gallatin, where I live, we are primarily R zoned, and on the west side of Gallatin, they're primarily RS zoned. And I know that he was one of the proponents of the DADU bill, even though it ended up being the case that his district wouldn't benefit from it because the original provision to include DADUs in RS zoning was stricken. So I admire his persistence in looking out for his constituents who wanted this and finding a creative way to make it still available to them. And I'm pleased to see that there's community support for it over there, and I urge your approval of this SP. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for the proposal? Anyone in opposition that would like to speak?
Again, good evening. My name is Lisa Spells, 611 North 5th Street. I adore the premise and the opportunities that this process affords. So let me start with that. It would be lovely if I too could benefit from a grandmother's, a maid's, or rental property on my land as a private homeowner. However, constitutionally, I don't get the equal access because I don't have an alleyway. So my question is, if we're looking at fair and equitable, equal opportunities and access for the same types of income, or having my family members live on the property, how do I benefit as a member of this resident under these guidelines? What are the exceptions to the rule? So all I ask is, may we all have the same opportunity and not just a few who have alleys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to be here. My name is Pam Murray. I own property at 800 Stockel Street, which did have a grandparent's house on that lot along with another house. Also, I live at 802 Stockel Street. Thanks for all you all's hard work for being here. I'm coming in opposition, and the reason being is because, first of all, there has not been much communication at all about this. I attend most of the neighborhood meetings. I heard it spoke of maybe one time at the Cleveland Park meeting. There's a lot of neighbors calling me saying, what is going on? Are the investors coming after our properties? Are they trying to push us out? So I think that I try my best to support Councilman Davis in everything that he does, but it's time for, this is such a huge impact on our community. I see some of the former council members here, and a lot of you all commissions were there when we did a major replanning to make that area, our whole area, single family. And the reason we did that was because there was so much rental property that it was bringing our neighborhood down so horrible. So we did a lot of research, and that's why we went through all the effort of rezoning the whole area single family. I would say let's take it a little bit slower, communicate with a lot of the neighbors that's still there. They're wanting more information about what's really going on here. You're talking about over 238 acreage of properties in this area. It's really causing a lot of problems with confusion in the neighborhood. If you want to talk about detached dwellings in our neighborhood, it's already there. It's the garages in our backyards. It's already there. Some people actually take those garages and make them into complexes, but I ask that you all either defer this or vote it down until we can get more communications with the neighbors out there.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ernestine Dilla Parker Crutcher. My family has 400 years by record in East Nashville. I was born on North 5th Street and Main Street, which is no longer in existence. We moved to North 5th off of Cleveland Street, which is still there. We own 2 houses there for 70 years. When we rebuilt those houses, we done those houses according to the neighborhood, the structure of the neighborhood. I live at 1229 Lishy Avenue. I've been there 37 years. I'm remodeling my house, and I'm staying with the structure of the neighborhood. I had an in-law suite in my backyard, which was a garage with an overhead in-law suite or whatever. And I was asked by Metro Codes to tear it down. There was nothing wrong with that. But now we're going back to where we want a mother-in-law suite or teenager suite or whatever. Please make up your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. My name's Ome Giamini. I live at 1204 North 2nd Street, right in the middle of all this action. I want to start off with saying that, I'm not completely against the detached dwellings. I think that it's, can be beneficial in some cases, but my concern is, as a resident and a property owner in the neighborhood, is just changing the base zoning on the entire neighborhood in one fell swoop. And as was shared, it was just changed to single family not even a decade ago, so why the hubbub to change it all of a sudden back, to something different again. I attended, the presentation last Saturday that Councilman Davis had over at the police station, and as he shared again this evening, he said that, there's some changes that need to be made. And my question would be to you, if there are changes that need to be made, why not make them before you approve it and then, let it go to council? Because once the ball starts rolling, as we know, it's a lot harder to stop. And, you guys are the planning stage. I understand about density. I moved here from New York City, so I'm no stranger to all that. But, again, we have Dickerson Road. There's a lot of areas where we can develop and put a lot of density in, other than, putting up houses in people's backyards, essentially, is what it comes down to. And lastly, I'll say this, that, while this, Councilman Davis said that this is not a developer-led initiative, I do feel that it is developer-friendly and that there may be some repercussions from that. I'm not sure what they are quite yet because, again, I'm not, versed in it as much as you guys are. But, in the article that was published in the Tennessean, they did state, and I think Roy Dale, if that's his name, stated that, this was an attractive thing to developers. So thanks for letting me share. Would prefer that this be deferred until there's more information and it's fleshed out a little more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Kenneth Davis, no relation to Scott.
I own several properties, and my family's from East Nashville. I grew up there on property on North 5th and North 2nd. And like I said, I guess I don't know if I'm for or against it because I need more information. I don't know what we're saying. I'm hearing the mother-in-law suite and rental property. I'm saying, okay, are we going to continue to do stuff to bring up the property value over there? Are we just going to bring it down? What is it going to do? These meetings, I wish I'd have known about them because I would have loved to attend, so I could have probably got that information there instead of trying to figure out what's really going on here. And so, like I said, the properties, I don't know what I can put on the properties or what I can't. I'm hearing different things, but I don't have a lot of the facts. And that was something I hope I was going to hear here. I know on all the other things, y'all put up pictures. I wonder, we don't have a picture of what structure or this mother-in-law thing that he's adding to there? I guess not. So I need more information or see what it is to say, okay, I would like to do this with my property. If it's a good thing, like the councilman's saying, okay, hey, I'm for the good thing. If it's not a good thing, like the other folks are saying, okay, what's the good thing, and let's do that to the property so it'll be a plus to the community and to the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Since the applicant spoke earlier, he does have time for rebuttal. Councilman Davis, you want to close us out? You got 2 minutes, Councilman, since you're the official applicant.
Thank you. Once again, there's a lot more talks that are going to happen. The gentleman, I will reach out to him directly to answer his questions. If not, I'm more than willing to ask the Planning Commission and other officers for some clarification to help the young man understand what's going on in the neighborhood. Once again, if you own several properties, you can only use this on the property that you live in. You can't put it on all your properties. The homeowner has to initiate the application to do this. And that's really all I have to say because, this is for the homeowners. And once again, I'll reiterate that this is not for a developer. And I'm not a lawyer, John Michael. If you could figure out any way that a developer can take advantage of us or what kind of legislation I can put in there to keep the developers from doing something sneaky, sorry. I want to do it because I want it for my homeowners. And I'm sorry that they made Miss Cookie tear down her in-law suite, the codes department. Maybe that's one of the ones that we can try and ask MDHA and Housing Fund to help put back up, just so that she can have that back for one of her relatives. And I just want to thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you, Councilman. So seeing no other people to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. It's time to start discussion. One thing I just want to say is since this is the first time we've had this type of zoning request, it's a little bit different, a lot of questions, and so we'll vet that out, and I know Councilman will work with the community to do that. So we'll start over here with Jeff.
No comments.
No comments. Derek?
I have a question about the alleys. I've looked to see, and I'm not sure, but it seems like there are alleys through each of these sections. Are there any properties in this area that don't have alleys or maybe that have unimproved alleys?
But they can have access, non-alley. You can have one curb cut to provide the access to both the detached accessory and the main house.
So it's not a requirement to have an alley in order to do this?
Or is it have an alley or that the lot be greater than 15,000 square feet? And to speak to your question about the alley access, the majority of these properties do have access to an alley. There are some pockets, like right here, you see these lots that front, I can't see the street there, but they don't have access to an alley. And then I think there are a couple here, but by far, most properties do have access to an alley.
But those could have this unit even though they don't have an alley?
If the lot is 15,000 square feet or more.
Okay, that was my main question.
Thank you, Hunter. Stuart?
I actually think it's one of the more inventive things I've heard in some ways, and
I think it's a step forward. It may not be every step we need to take, but you take them one at a time. And I'm just kind of intrigued by it. I think I'm supportive of it, and would encourage. There's obviously a public hearing at the council level, but it's always best to get those questions discussed beforehand. I really live in a neighborhood which also had, in Hillsborough West End, which had a lot more mother-in-law apartments and similar things than it does now because of some decisions made back before we realized the value of urban neighborhoods. And a lot were torn down, a lot of lots were cleared and things put back up even in that area that were not as family friendly as I wish. So I'm hoping this will be a good step, and it sounds like it would be.
Hunter?
Well, I really like this. I think the only thing that I don't like about it is that we're using an SP in this way, perhaps. But we've done stranger things with SPs. And this may not benefit me, Councilman, but it might benefit my son or my daughter who will want to live in the neighborhood, hopefully, when they get old enough to rent an apartment. So, the 15,000 square feet, that's essentially a double lot in this neighborhood because it's 150 by 100. I suspect most of the lots are 50 by 150. I know that's consistent with the recent, or with the DADU legislation that went through. Was that number determined based on planning's recommendation, or was there some political concern in areas where it's less urban, maybe newer neighborhoods where there's no alleys and there wasn't the political support? I'm just curious about that, because if you could get a driveway on a 50-foot lot next to a single-family home and have one of these in the rear, I don't know why it would matter. So I know we're trying to be consistent with some of the previous legislation.
I think it was done looking at it more universally. I think you're correct in terms of that. The staff, you could recommend a smaller threshold in more urban areas if you wanted to.
Or since this is an SP in this particular one, that then it could be used as a model later.
Right.
We could say because it's more urban in this situation, we recommend to consider smaller ones. I would be for that.
Yeah, and obviously, the councilman can address that with the constituents with his further meetings and amend, I suppose, after this. Would it require, if the councilman changed the bill if we approved it as is, and the councilman changed the bill to allow a smaller lot, that wouldn't kick it back to us necessarily?
No.
Would it? Okay.
No. It's going to, I think that, depending on what amendments are made, it may make it a disapproved bill, but if you've got that concern, I would make that part of the motion that the council consider having a lower threshold, and that would be consistent.
Okay. All right, great. Well, I know under Nashville Next, affordability has risen to the top of the list of priorities for our community, and I think this is a really inventive way to sort of, take the good parts of our zoning ordinance with, where you might allow 2 units on a lot, and leave the bad parts behind, which the former council lady, I believe, spearheaded. So I'm in support.
Councilman Hunt?
No comment.
No comment? Any more discussion and motion?
I'd like to make a motion we approve with the recommendation that the councilman consider smaller square footage requirements for this particular area because of it's so urban.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. 7-4-0 against. I can't count today. And now we're on to other business. That concludes our zoning business. So we are on item number 17. 17, Historic Zoning Commission, Hunter.
I just want to mention, as I've mentioned before, or as a follow-up to what I've mentioned before, the Historic Zoning Commission just recently adopted some policy language to go alongside their guidelines with regard to additions, outbuildings, dadoos, and so on, to be more consistent with the most recent legislation. So again, I want to thank the staff here for working with the Metro Historic staff on that as well. Thanks.
Thank you. No report on parks. Executive committee report. We don't have one. No, yeah, we don't have one. And director's report.
Just to remind again, once again,
Hold on, Rick. If everybody could just keep it down a little bit, we're still conducting the meeting.
The proposed future meeting, the first one will be held next Thursday, a week from tonight, at Rocket Town at 5 o'clock. And we encourage you, if you can't make that one, make one of the 4 that are being held in November.
All right, Councilman, last legislative update.
Well, finally, in about a year from now, you can walk across the bridge from the Gulf to Sobro.
That's great.
It's done.
Thank you, Councilman.
That's great.
Seeing no other business, motion adjourned.
It's amazing.
We're adjourned.
About 34